student, and the Seattle Public Schools.
This is Seattle. We want living wages.
The Teamsters have said the strike authorization was meant to push parties back to the bargaining table. The drivers want better health care and retirement benefits that would measure up to benefits earned by bus drivers who work directly for school districts.
First Student says it is working with the union to reach a deal. Washington State is boasting 3 finalists for the prestigious James Beard Culinary Award. They include Atoma for Best New Restaurant and Archipelago for Outstanding Hospitality, both restaurants in Seattle. Jay Blackington of Whom on Orcas Island is nominated for Best Chef in the category of Northwest and Pacific Cuisine. He tells the Seattle Times he's overwhelmed, honored, and humbled. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Light rain today with highs in the low 50s. It's 43 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO Newsradio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio Northwest News. It's the all-new Jake and Spike Show on KIRO Newsradio.
Welcome to the Jake and Spike Show on a Wednesday afternoon. I'm Spike O'Neill. Jake Skorheim's taking a day today. He's got an issue, a personal issue, and we're gonna wish him the very, very best. Everything's fine, and he'll be back tomorrow. Greg Tomlin filling in today for Jake Skorheim. Greg and I had the pleasure of doing a warm-up show yesterday afternoon. We filled in yesterday for John Curley, who's going to be back today, folks. John Curley has fought through what was keeping him down yesterday, a little bit of a sore throat, a little bit of a cough. You probably heard it on Monday. Anyway, Greg, welcome to the show, my friend.
I was going to say long time no see, but not quite fitting. Maybe yesterday's show with us together was the earthquake. Today's the aftershocks. That's my analogy.
Nicely done. Nicely done. We want to let you know that in just under an hour, we hope, we are going to bring you live coverage of President Trump's Oval Office address. I'm not sure where exactly in the White House he'll be speaking from, but he has a major announcement today, of course, because it is Liberation Day, to quote the president, and major tariffs will be announced today. There's been a lot of speculation from pundits from both sides of the political aisle, from experts through the economy and all other places. Everybody's weighed in, from Jon Stewart to who knows who, everybody else. So we'll bring you that coverage live at 1 o'clock this afternoon. In a local vein, what are we starting with today, Greg? I'm a little bescattered here.
Yeah,
we have a big surprise coming up for you listeners at 1 o'clock during the president's address. We've got a way to for all of us to be able to not just hear the president's message and his vision for this new defense of America's economy, a way for you at home to become more engaged and play along and maybe even win a prize. So we'll let you know as that develops.
But let's get into this verse. According to research done by Vegas Aces, Spike, Seattle is among the top U.S. cities where financial prosperity has the strongest impact on your happiness. So apparently an annual household income of $169,292 is needed if you want to achieve financial happiness or contentment in the great Northwest here. What do you make of this study? My first reaction is that you kind of have to be grading on a relative scale, right? $169,000 doesn't get you in Seattle what it gets you in Henderson, Nevada,
exactly right. That's
Mississippi,
every
or
city,
Alabama.
Every environment has a threshold of what it takes to, and in these factors that play into this, what makes you happy. You stop worrying about finances, lesser anxiety, those kind of issues, right?
And what they're further saying in the study is Seattle is ranked number 11 among the 150 largest U.S. cities in terms of how much money influences overall well-being. The ranking considered factors such as average household income, life expectancy, livability scores, and depression. Now, here's what was eye-opening to me and really insightful and worthy of a further discussion. Seattle also has a depression rate of 22.3%, which is the highest among the top-ranked cities.
That's surprising.
So on one hand, there's the correlative between a certain amount of money and happiness, and then the other, we're the most depressed city around. So how do those two get reconciled in your mind, and what does that say to you, Spike?
It comes as no surprise to me that they can equate money to happiness because, money can't buy happiness, but it can stave off misery, right?
To a degree.
You can rent happiness with money. You don't have to, you can't buy it, but you can rent it for the afternoon, along with a pony for the kids. I'm not surprised about the depression factor, given the fact that and I got to tell you, our climate in the Great Northwest does factor into the seasonal affective disorder, which I believe is real. The constant sense of gray from October through May. And I'm generalizing, of course, but we can all relate to it. We have the geographical boundaries of the Olympics and the Cascades. Weather systems funnel into our state through the Sound or from the south, and they linger. We get less annual rainfall than Boston in the Great Northwest, but it just is, it's stretched out for continuous drizzle for 6 months. And that lack of sunshine and the constant gray sky, there's been numerous studies done. It leads to a greater element of depression in the Northwest.
At least up until
that's bringing our grades down. That's bringing our scores down. We got the rest of it licked.
Yeah. Well, at least up until recently, when the Democrats in Olympia tried to squander all we've inherited here in the Northwest, we are amongst one of the most prosperous cities in the country. We have more opportunity here than anywhere. Aesthetic beauty that is unparalleled.
Absolutely.
We have a rich history and a heritage, and again, inheritance here.
From flight to computers to medical research, we are the cradle of innovation.
Yes, and I always try to make a distinction between happiness and joy. I think happiness can be fleeting, is temporary, and is often circumstantial, whereas joy kind of infers a more lasting peace and contentment, whereas happiness is more either transitory or temporal. Does that make sense? Do you agree with that?
I've never heard someone distinguish between the two so beautifully. I think it makes perfect sense. Joy doesn't seem to me, I would think initially that joy would be a more temporary feeling as opposed to happiness, but you've laid it out rather well.
Perhaps some of that is semantics.
Yeah, we're Irish in my family. So,
so you're all depressed.
I think it's Yeats who said the Irish have an impending sense of doom that sustains us through temporary periods of joy.
Nothing that was the quote. 4 guineas can't solve.
Yeah, you go. I think there's a lot to what you're saying about money isn't the key to happiness. And you have to have the other elements in your life.
And apart from taking care of your immediate physical needs, I mean, money, where's the threshold for you between, you hear millionaires talk about this, there's no difference between having 5 million or 10 million. I know Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, took a little bit of a hit to his contract negotiations, and he said he was willing to do so if some of that money could go to his teammates.
Yeah,
because he's like, look, I have a great life. I have a wonderful family, a nice house,
car.
I have all the cars I need, so I'll take a $5-7 million hit to my contract. And I thought that was such a fascinating comment, because the American way of life, or the American dream, is just more. And abundance and more and more in abundance.
Yeah, well,
and for him to sort of flip the script, I really respected that, and just sort of planting that seed that, and for us middle class people, is it 250,000, 500,000, 750,000? I've often thought we all make these trade-offs with each other on a daily basis. You could work a 14-hour-a-day job, and you could afford to move 4 miles closer to a better area with better schools and expand your square footage of your house by 700 feet. And again, you could work yourself to the bone, or you could have like a nice, more comfortable job that's less demanding, that is 8 hours instead of the 12, 14 hours.
Right.
And you live a little farther outside the city, but you then have a yard and you have neighbors that you're close. It's all trade-offs.
It really is. And it's a matter of prioritizing what it is that makes you particularly happy. Some folks,
or joy-filled.
Some folks need to have the material goods to feel successful in comparison with our neighbors. Comparison's the root of all evil, not money. But I think Laura and I were just talking this morning on the way into work. We came in together today, and we're talking about former coworkers who were able to make the decision, who were financially stable enough to make the decision to spend more time with family, to spend more time traveling, as opposed to just chasing a second paycheck or a 2-income family. And I guarantee you that while they may have less income than had they stayed at work, they're happier. They've got more joy. They're watching their kids play in sports leagues. They're traveling with their family. They're home for dinner every single night.
I've talked to a lot of employers that relay stories to me about interviews that they've had with potential employees nowadays compared to 20, 30 years ago. And the conversations by this new generation that is entering the workforce revolve much more around that work-life balance that you're talking about, rather than just nose to the grindstone, just trying to make as much money as I can or try to work as many hours as I can. A lot of it is how much family time can I get with this job, which strikes a lot of people as a huge tectonic shift in American workers' priorities. I'm not saying that's across the board, but it's apparent enough that people have told me in the interview process that is a subject that is coming up more and more.
And again, we're talking about a study done by Vega, and we're referencing Fox 13's story. You can take a look at it yourself. Seattle ranks 11th in the country for happiness with regard to financial happiness. $169,000 a year is what they say it takes to be happy in Seattle. So, Laura, I apologize. You're never going to be happy.
Spoiler
alert. I don't make that much money.
Neither will I.
So would you say around 170 grand is the magic number for like a decent middle class lifestyle in Seattle in 2025? Is that kind of what it's implying?
Well, the people who know, the people who've done the research and weighted in the numerous factors of what equates to happiness or joy, they've said that's the number in Seattle, and we're the 11th ranked city in America. And I believe our numbers are brought down by the depression factor of our environment. I genuinely think that otherwise we'd be easily top 10, if not top 5, without the depression factor weighing that number down. No, I don't buy that, because I know it's funny. I know people that have nothing and are insanely happy and joyful, and they have nothing because they've got the right priorities. They haven't chased comparing themselves with the neighbors. They haven't chased the brand new car. They haven't chased the motorhome or the toys, the jet skis and motorcycles, which I have all those things, by the way.
And if you do think money creates happiness, watch this season of White Lotus. What's an entity or a group that is trying to rob your happiness? Well, I would argue it's Democrats in Olympia who are trying to tax us into oblivion. They're getting some pushback, not just from Governor Bob Ferguson, but also dozens of major companies that have sent a letter to Washington's governor and state legislature to, quote, review and revise the tax and budget proposals, saying that they threaten the state's economic stability. This write-up at Como News. We're talking companies like Microsoft, Costco, Amazon, Alaska Air, Nordstrom, Zillow, T-Mobile, Redfin. The list goes on. Virginia Mason, WaFd Bank, Weyerhaeuser, Puget Sound Energy, and the hometown heroes, Seattle Mariners. Not surprised by this spike because this tax burden was going to be massive on not just regular people, but also, well, I guess employers are regular people too.
That's what Mitt Romney says.
I'm glad to see a unified voice here against what was going to be the biggest tax increase in Washington State's history. What do you make of all these companies kind of speaking out in one accord here?
Shut up and pay your fair share. That's I know I get tons of grief for this on a regular basis. Because, I understand that how much is your fair? I get the pushback. How much is your fair share? Taxes. The top 1% pays 50% of all tax revenue. I get that. But when people harken back to Make America Great Again, and I'm not picking on MAGA, but, a time when America was at its most fruitful, its most, quality of life for all Americans. This is when the biggest earners were taxed at 90%. It's when corporations, instead of like squandering or squirreling their money off and building rockets to travel to other planets or having 7 homes in the largest boat ever built, you can actually walk from the back of the boat to the front of the boat and not even touch the Atlantic. It goes from coast to coast. They used to build museums, and they used to build, they were benefactors. They built the Carnegie Library System, the Guggenheim, all these people. They used their crazy robber baron wealth so that it wouldn't be taxed. They invested in their companies. They invested in their workforces. They invested in the greater social good of America. And I think these companies, and I don't want to pick on Amazon, but they are the big flag on the top of that hill. But Microsoft, Costco, Nordstrom, T-Mobile, all these companies, they all benefit from this city. They all benefit from the workforce, from the infrastructure of this city. Every one of them. And so, and I understand that, they're holding us for ransom. If you make us pay a bigger tax burden, we'll go somewhere else where someone won't. I get it. That's how business works. But don't you owe something? Don't you owe a little more? To your point about a quarterback who doesn't need the extra $5 million, he's got enough.
It's a little vague. And what Democrats in Olympia are demanding from these companies is, look, we haven't spent the money well, we've overspent, and now we need more, and you're just going to have to sit there and take it and like it. And as you pointed out very rightly, that these companies can vote with their feet, and one of the reasons they were attracted to this area in the first place was because the business environment and atmosphere was so welcoming and accommodating to them that wake up some 20 years later, or decades and decades of this kind of welcoming environment, and you've got massive companies, big employers benefiting thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of workers here in Seattle. And they're basically, with this warning, there might be inferring it more than saying it explicitly, but yeah, they'll pack up and leave.
They will.
And they've shown that they will do that in the past.
Yeah, but it's a lot of, I'm with you, but there have been a lot of companies that have threatened to leave. And this is all leverage. It's all negotiations. They want better deals. That's why they're threatening to leave. But they didn't just move here. They moved here because it was an attractive place to bring a workforce.
Right.
Or you started here. Amazon started here. If it was in the middle of, no knock on Kansas, but I'm going to knock on Kansas. If Amazon was centered in Wichita, it'd be harder to get a guy to come work there. As opposed to you mentioned earlier, the aesthetic beauties of Seattle, the natural beauties, the natural resources, the recreational resources of Seattle, the cultural resource of Seattle, from museums to concert halls to all the major pro sports teams.
Yeah.
Those are sort of the NBA, but that's a different story we chewed on early in the week. Those are all factors that bring a workforce, and that's what benefits these companies as a workforce that is willing to live in an area. And I think that comes at a cost. And I really honestly don't think these companies are paying an adequate share, let alone fair. I hate that word, fair share. Yes, they do pay more, but they also reap more. They're benefiting from the roads that you and I as taxpayers built. They're driving up the cost of affordable housing in this town because 200,000 Amazon employees move here. They're all paid a healthy six-figure salary. It's probably the first one's not even a one. And they drive up the cost because the market dictates that all these places to live, to rent, to own. All now the property values go up. My property values go up. I love it. I got more equity in my home, but I'm paying more in sales tax or real estate taxes, property taxes. I get it. It's a balance between these two.
And I understand we have a progressive tax system, and yes, it's kind of an ongoing negotiation and words thrown back and forth at each other in the press and in legislation, and you try to find that sweet spot, I guess, for lack of a better term.
But and that's what good negotiation is, and good statesmanship is, find that sweet spot.
Right, but I think these companies are finally saying you've gone too far. We're all going to join together and say this would kind of be the last straw for us, and conditions would be so onerous for us to do business that we'd get out of here.
And if we have gone too far as a legislative body in the Democrat-controlled state of Washington, then it is time.
They better heed the warnings.
It is time for businesses to rally up together, get a lot of letterhead on that letter, and say we all can find greener pastures. If you be so intrusive and prohibitive in the way you tax us to do business, we'll take our business elsewhere. So we'll see how it plays out. Well, there you go. That's a fine how you do for the start of our Wednesday show. I'm Spike O'Neill. Jake Squirm's taking a day today. Greg Tom is going to fill in for the balance of our show. And when we come back, it's kind of that point in my life. I don't know if you guys feel the same way as I do, but we're losing our heroes, our stars, our icons. And we lost one yesterday, and we'll pay tribute to who I think was just a brilliant performer, actor, great guy all the way around. When we come back, it's a Jake and Spike show. We'll be right back.
This hour is brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino.
Choke points on Seattle's morning news.
Stanwood has indeed installed 14 new cameras. They are on the main roads in and out of the city, but they are not speed cameras or red light cameras. They are part of what's called the Flock safety system. And this Flock system reads every license plate of every car that passes under them. Stanwood installed the cameras to make up for having a small department. It's a way to use technology to make the community safer.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, presented by Carter Subaru.
Hey, it's Jason Rance. I'm here with our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn of None Better Tax Resolution. When you're dealing with business owners and the idea that they owe money to the IRS and they feel like they might be letting their staff down, and it just spirals out of control.
One thing I see with businesses, it's really tough because they have employees and maybe they're having a difficult time with the cash flow of the business. Then unfortunately, what a business often does is they quit making their payroll tax deposits. which is really about the worst thing you could be doing. I mean, it's a telltale sign if you're doing that. Hey, get someone that can help you kind of look at your business and see if things can be changed so that you can operate your business better and make those payroll tax deposits. Because let me tell you this, the IRS is on those right away.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, you have to call Greg Nunn of None Better Tax Resolution. From stress to success with IRS Solutions. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN, None Better Tax Resolution.
Well, here in our region, it's really common for homes to have damaged insulation or even no insulation at all in their crawl space or attic. Well, in the winter, that'll make your home cold and drafty. And in the summer months, it can turn your home into an oven. It's Mike Salk here, and utility companies have special incentives right now to help with the cost of having your home properly insulated, including a once-in-a-lifetime rebate from Puget Sound Energy. So if you're a PSC customer and your home was built before 1990, you could qualify to receive a rebate on up to 95% of the cost to properly insulate your crawl space and attic. Yes, they will cover up to 95% of the cost. And if you're anything like me, you love the idea of somebody else paying to improve your home, add value to it, and save you money along the way. How good does that sound? Don't wait. Call Crawl Pros to learn what's going on behind that crawl space and attic hatch for free, and then what energy rebates you're eligible for. If you're worried about critters, mold, water damage, insulation issues, or anything else related to your crawl space or attic, schedule a free corner-to-corner inspection at crawlpros.com.
Spring is officially here, and with it comes some unpredictable Pacific Northwest weather. This time of year, heavy rain can be especially tough on an old roof. An unexpected roof leak can be stressful. If your roof does spring a leak, Valentine Roofing has you covered with our Leak Stop Guarantee. We'll stop a leak in your old roof for free until the new one is safely installed. And we offer this leak stop service year-round, so you're never left scrambling for a bucket on your own. But don't wait for a roofing emergency. Schedule your free estimate now before you have the headache of dealing with a leak. Our estimates are straightforward. We'll provide you with an honest assessment of your roof's condition, along with our best price right from the start, all within about an hour of when we arrive. Call Valentine Roofing today, and we can get your roof replacement started with our priority scheduling. For roof replacements, repairs, and cleaning, call Valentine Roofing today at 206 Roofing. That's 206 Roofing to schedule your free estimate.
Hi, this is Keith Dashafi, owner of Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. Are you ready to enhance your home with stunning, energy-efficient windows and doors? At Pella, we offer top-quality products with innovative designs and exceptional craftsmanship. And right now, we're offering an amazing deal. Enjoy 12 months with no interest and no payments, or get 40% off qualifying installs. My team is dedicated to helping you every step of the way. Visit PellaPNW.com to schedule your free appointment today. That's PellaPNW.com.
It's clogged again.
Your drain?
Just had it cleared.
You didn't call Apollo Plumbing.
How can you tell?
Because your drain's clogged again.
So frustrating.
We can clear that drain.
That's what the last guy said.
We'll clear it, guaranteed.
He said that too.
Apollo Plumbing will clear your drain, or it's free.
Wait, what?
Apollo Plumbing clears your drain.
Or it's free?
Yep.
What's the catch?
No catch.
Fine print?
Apollo Plumbing clears your main drain for $83.
$83, or it's free?
And we'll even give you a camera inspection.
Because?
It's the best way to find what's causing your clog.
But that's extra.
Nope. Included.
No extra charge?
Not 1 cent.
$83, or it's free.
All it takes is an accessible outside cleanout.
And an Apollo plumber.
No clog is safe from Apollo Plumbing.
And just like that, my main drain is...
draining again.
How can you...
Apollo plumbers are that good.
$83, or it's free.
You call, we come.
My drain's draining again.
Guaranteed.
$83, or it's free.
As it should be.
Apollo Plumbing.
ApolloPlumbing.com.
Tune in to The Money Professor with Chris Longworth.
Having some certainty about your plan is definitely going to give you all the advantages.
Chris has the heart of an educator.
If you really want to do this correctly, then you get to enjoy every day of retirement like it's a Saturday. And if you don't, it's a Monday for the rest of your life.
Tune in to The Money Professor with Chris Longworth, Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM.
Are you putting off your new kitchen plans? Why wait? Hi, I'm Chad Cicchini, owner of Heritage Homecraft, and we've got an offer you're not going to want to wait for. We'll custom build you all new cabinet doors and drawer fronts, and using our exclusive 1/4-inch solid wood refacing process, transform your existing cabinets into a beautiful new kitchen. Stop waiting. We're having a trade-in sale. You'll save $30 per door and drawer front off the cost of your new kitchen. Count them up and see how much you'll save. Heritage Homecraft, 425-485-1600 or heritagehomecraft.com.
KIRONewsradio97.3fm.com.
Save on a 2-night getaway to beautiful Victoria, BC with the FRS Clipper Spring Sale. Travel car-free on the Clipper Fast Ferry and stay at a charming downtown hotel. From $252 per person, double occupancy. Save during Clipper Spring Sale at FRSClipper.com.
Paid political announcement. We live here in Washington. I travel all over the state for work.
Affordable short-term rentals help us stay together and make Hazel feel at home.
Now Olympia is considering a huge tax increase on short-term rentals,
pricing us and other families out, since more than half of short-term rentals here are used by Washingtonians.
Costs on everything are going up.
Please tell legislators not to make our trips more expensive too.
Paid for by Airbnb helps our state thrive. Host PAC.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon, I'm Heather Bosch. In just half an hour, we expect to hear details from President Trump about new tariffs that he plans to put on imports. CBS's Weijia Jiang reports.
For weeks, President Trump has tried to sell his tariffs plan as a new dawn.
April 2nd is going to be Liberation Day for America.
But from automakers to construction companies to restaurateurs like Tony Stafford.
Every small business owner is concerned.
Many industries are bracing for how Trump's tariffs blitz could hit home.
Any products that businesses import to sell to you or even parts they bring in to assemble will cost more. CBS's Jolene Kent says the reality,
if costs of things go up, companies are likely to pass that cost on to the consumer. And that, of course, affects the way that they're able to do business, the types of jobs they're able to hire for, the structure, the size of the company when it comes to possible layoffs and things like that.
But Trump insists tariffs will ultimately benefit Americans by encouraging more production in the U.S. We will bring President Trump's speech to you live here on KIRO News Radio. Again, that is scheduled for 1 o'clock. More local impacts from federal government layoffs that the president says are necessary to cut government waste. The Seattle office of Head Start has been closed and the staff handed pink slips, according to the Seattle Times. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson is warning state lawmakers that more federal cuts are coming.
Things are going to be happening at the federal level. Take that to the bank, literally and figuratively. That's going to be happening. So it is imperative that we make some difficult decisions now to put ourselves in as strong a position as possible.
The governor says he is rejecting both the state, House, and Senate budget plans that include a record amount of taxes to cover a record amount of spending. Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg on the hot seat. Today, he testified before a Senate committee about how the company is improving quality and safety, concerns highlighted after a door plug blew out of a 737 MAX in flight last year.
First of all, it's unacceptable that an aircraft left our factory without that door plug properly installed.
Ortberg promised U.S. senators he'll be on the factory floor in Renton next week, talking to workers about what they need from the company to be successful. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 170 points, NASDAQ ahead 118. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk in Renton, a crash is blocking 2 lanes on southbound I-405 at Northeast 44th. You're backed up to Bellevue. Travel time, Bellevue to Renton at 38 minutes, about half an hour longer than usual. In Seattle, the crash has been cleared from I-5 southbound at North 145th. Your travel time is still about 10 minutes longer than typical Everett to Seattle. Traffic brought to you by Beacon Plumbing. For all your heating, electrical, septic, and mechanical needs, stop freaking call Beacon. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Light rain today with highs in the low 50s. It's 46 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill along with Greg Tillman, sitting in for Jake Skorheim today. As we mentioned before the break, Hollywood has lost, all of us have lost, what I would consider truly to call a legend. Val Kilmer, actor, passed away at 65 yesterday after a long and very public fight with cancer. Kilmer was so versatile, I think, in the roles that he took. I'm going to forgive him Batman.
Batman Forever is not a terrible movie. It's not the worst Batman. George Clooney beat him out.
Very true. Thank you, George Clooney. He's not the worst Batman, but he was not a great Batman. I'm going to forgive him that because I think some of the things that Val Kilmer took part in were just absolutely brilliant. From, of course, Top Gun, where he really became
Iceman.
Iceman. Everyday American iconic right? There's no one who doesn't know Val Kilmer's portrayal of Iceman in Top Gun. And for others, like myself included, his role of Doc Holliday in Tombstone is one of the most iconic and by all accounts, the story of the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona, has been made so many times by so many Hollywood greats from the 50s on forward. But Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday is my very favorite, probably, performance of Val Kilmer. I don't know if you saw the Top Gun Maverick, the newest installment of the Top Gun franchise.
His appearance in that movie was so well done, and I read behind the scenes Tom Cruise was really an advocate to sort of have him in that role, even though he had lost the majority of his speaking voice at that point. But I have to admit to you, I was one of the people in the theater who had tears come to his eyes during that scene, because I grew up with the original Top Gun, and then to see them in those same characters again some 30 years later and in such an emotional setting with, a friend and illness and rekindling a kinship there. Yeah, it was a great scene in that movie.
There was a movie that I loved that not a lot of people got to see called The Saint.
Yeah, I remember The Saint.
Now, The Saint was a TV series, I believe, from the 60s. And Val Kilmer brought it to the big screen along with, I think, Elizabeth Shue. And he was an international thief who took on different characters in the film. And in that film, The Saint, Kilmer got to put on various characters with extensive makeup and hair to play in different scenes, different iterations of his character inside that movie. Part of the plot but it was just so versatile and so amazing. There's a movie called Real Genius that Val Kilmer did. It was kind of a comedy, 80s comedy. And I asked Laura to pull a quote because I think Val Kilmer's comedic chops were so underappreciated. And he had brilliant comedic timing and could literally play anything. If he could
No, seriously, listen, if there's ever anything I can do for you, or more to the point, to you, you let me know, okay?
Thank you.
That's unacceptable by today's terms, everyone.
The line that the young actress delivers back to him was completely not ready for air. But he met this young lady for the first time at his professor's home in company with standing right next to her father, and had the no filters audacity to make that line. And that Val Kilmer could deliver any line.
And his first ever performance on the silver screen was an action comedy film called Top Secret that I grew up with.
Top Secret was brilliant.
I was a wee lad when I saw that movie, so much of the humor went over my head. But I just remember he made an impression on me as the lead in that film, as just being brilliant, energetic, funny, and someone you couldn't take your eyes off. Just a really captivating presence on screen, and I think that lasted him his whole career. But you're exactly right. You couldn't get much different from his performance in Top Secret than his performance as Jim Morrison in The Doors, which is my favorite performance of his. And my goodness, did he just capture Jim Morrison, his voice, the look, the face, his sort of attitude and behavior,
and sang every Doors song.
And it's a dark movie.
And he became Jim Morrison. He didn't lip sync this movie. He sang.
I know the word that you long to hear. I know your deepest secret fear. I know everything.
I love it when you sing to me.
Riders on the storm. That's me.
I'm the poet and you're my muse.
Yeah, so dead at the age of 65, and we lost Gene Hackman just a few weeks ago at the age of 95, right? So 30 years difference. What I'm struck by, Spike, is that, whether you pass away in your 90s, 60s, 50s, 40s, I know sometimes we like to try to soften it the older you are. Mm-hmm. And I would just like to say I've been around enough families of loved ones that have gone on to the next life. And a lot of times it doesn't get easier. Death is just wholly unnatural, in my opinion. It's not the way it was meant to be. And C.S. Lewis in A Grief Observed writes that death is like an amputation. It's like losing a part of yourself, a permanent part of yourself forever. Okay. And again, whether it's Val Kilmer at 65 or Gene Hackman at 95, I just think it's noteworthy to say that death just always feels terrible and unnatural.
For those of us who remain behind, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because death, of course, it's the only thing we can count on. Even more than taxes.
Even more than taxes, perhaps, yeah.
You know, Laura found this really cute, it's a tribute, a loving tribute from Jennifer Tilly, who's also, I think, a very underrated actress. She's fantastic. And she posted this when Val Kilmer passed yesterday. Long time ago, I was auditioning for the movie The Doors. And it was kind of a cattle call. They paired together potential Jims and potential Pamelas, who we heard in that clip. Meg Ryan won the role of Pamela. They were running behind, so we were spilling out into the casting office, sitting on the porch, on the lawn, in the driveway. All of a sudden, a 60s convertible comes screeching up, blaring Doors music at top volume. A guy jumped out and strode inside. He had wild hair. He was barefoot, shirtless, wearing tight leather pants. We all looked at each other like, who is this? We were more than a little shocked by the sheer audacity of this entrance. Well, of course, it was Val Kilmer. And from that moment on, everyone knew that no one else had a chance to play Jim Morrison. He became Jim Morrison for this role. And he had never sang before that. And we hear of late Timothy Chalamet, spent 5 years becoming Bob Dylan. Val Kilmer had to do it in months. And if you haven't seen the Doors movie, I was never a big Doors fan. I can appreciate the quality of their work, but never a big Doors fan. But watch the Doors movie and watch Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Be Jim Morrison. In every way, shape, or form. It's just a genius of an actor.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention another one of his performances. The synopsis for this film, Spike, an aspiring magician who teams up with a disaffected warrior to protect a young baby princess from an evil queen. Can you name that film?
Madmartigan, Willow.
1988, Willow.
He met his wife. He met the female lead in that movie, Joanne Whaley. He met on set and married. They were married for quite a while. Yeah.
I think that might even be a Ron Howard directed.
It was a Ron Howard film, Willows. Yep.
Yeah, so
great movie.
Rest in peace, Val Kilmer, losing some of the greats as of late. I heard he was even bedridden for like the last 1 or 2 years of his life. Yeah. Cancer had taken his toll, and then he eventually succumbed to pneumonia, if TMZ is to be believed. More oftentimes with celebrities, they get it right than wrong.
Yeah, amen. And you mentioned earlier about his final performance in the Top Gun Maverick. It was so brave of him and so honest of him. That was his physical state.
Yeah, right.
And kudos to Tom Cruise for insisting that be a part of the storyline, that Val Kilmer be paid tribute to while living, because they knew it. There comes a point where everyone knows that the inevitable is coming, and doctors have tried all they can do, and there's no getting out of it. So Val Kilmer at 65 years old, far too young.
Go home and watch Heat tonight.
Heat. Heat.
So good.
Yeah. All right, folks, when we come back, let me see here. My little handy. Thank you very much, Laura. Okay, when we come back, is the American flag something we all love and respect? When is it just a pain, a nuisance, something that should be fought over in court? We'll tell you where and how this is happening when we come back to the Jake and Spike Show.
Hey, it's Charlie Harger from Seattle's Morning News. For the past few months, it's been me behind the mic, Sully keeping you moving, Katrina bringing you headlines. But starting Monday, someone very special is joining our team on Seattle's Morning News. She has been waking up Seattle listeners for decades, and now she's becoming part of our KIRO family. Who is it? You'll find out Monday morning. Seattle's Morning News, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on KIRO News Radio.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It's hard to be a homeowner, we know. Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
A good retirement requires more than just having a retirement nest egg and a good investment strategy. Sadly, most people don't have that kind of a plan. And that's why retirement turns into a nightmare for most retirees. Nightmares of one falling ill and ending up in a nursing home, becoming a burden on loved ones, and losing money to uncovered care costs. All preventable with the right retirement plan. Hi, this is elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich and founder of LifePoint Law. Let me invite you to resolve to make 2025 the year you create a real plan for retirement. I've helped thousands of people in the Seattle area, and I know I can help you too. Come to one of my retirement planning seminars this month, and I will show you how.
Attend the free seminar in Federal Way on April 5th, Olympia on April 8th, or Bellevue on April 10th. Register at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454.
It's a new year, but many seniors are struggling with the same old problem: high prices and rising property taxes. We're here with our friend Steve Teitler of Best Mortgage, and he says a reverse mortgage may be the answer.
Many seniors cannot afford to stay in the home they love. A reverse mortgage gives them access to equity in their home without having to sell. They can pay off their mortgage if they have one, and maybe pull some extra cash out of their home, and best of all, they have no mortgage payment the rest of their life.
But as you always say, a reverse mortgage is not for everyone.
That's right. Avoid the high-pressure sales pitch from those out-of-state call centers. I give you a consultation, not a sales pitch. I'll tell you if a reverse mortgage is right for you, and I always tell you if it's not.
Honest advice you can trust from the reverse mortgage experts. Best Mortgage, the VA loan experts and debt consolidation specialists too. 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
Guys, thinking about testosterone replacement therapy? Revive Men's Health can help you get started if you're ready to book your free T-check. Visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com. That's Revive, REVIBE, menshealth.com.
When the heat's an 11, cool AC would be heaven.
Dayandnight.net.
Beat the rush. Act now before summer, because that heat's a real bummer.
Dayandnight.net.
This is the time to plan ahead, so you stay cool this summer. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. Call us about installing a high-efficiency cooling system or servicing your existing one so you're cool when you need it.
Now save up to $4,600 on qualifying cooling equipment.
Dayandnight.net.
Welcome back to the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill along with Greg Tomlin today. We're going to talk to you really quick about an American flag that's causing more controversy or trouble than even I think it should.
Is it because it has 51 stars on it?
It was early release. Spoiler alert. Spoiler. Oh, my God, that's funny. No, it's a story that, and I'm sure you've all seen a flag like this at a local business. I know there's a huge, the problem is the flag's too big for some people. There's a huge flag down in Tumwater. I think it's a flag company, a flag store, I think it is. I'll have to look it up to get the, I think it's, CRW Flags down in Tumwater. If you come down I-5 where it branches off to 16, there's a massive American flag. There's a huge American flag up at the Aurora Rent Store in my neighborhood up in Shoreline. A massive American flag. Big flags are all the rage in Donald Trump's America. And speaking of the president, which again, we're going to, at the top of the hour, President Trump will address the nation live I guess it's from the Oval Office, but he's going to talk about Liberation Day and the imposing of tariffs on our trade partners, on the European Union, on the Asia markets, in an effort to keep America relevant and financially prosper and bring wealth back to America.
Yeah, and I would like to echo the senior research fellow at George Mason University who posted on X today. Are you ready to be liberated from rising wages, massive foreign direct investments, and a growing economy and friends worldwide? Then it's Liberation Day for you.
We'll address this before, if we can, or after the president's address at least. But I want to let people know, we are going to play a little game, and we mean this in lighthearted, good-spirited fun. I tend to think that while I disagree with the president on a lot of his policies, he tends to lean into the same playbook with regard to his rhetoric. A lot of the things the president says, you can hear him say on numerous different occasions, whether it's on the campaign trail or it's in a major address to the nation or it's in any daily press conference. So we've put together a little game we're calling Liberation Day Bingo.
Uh-oh.
Liberation Day Bingo. We've taken what we think are 25 or 24. The center square is free for everybody. It's MAGA. He's going to make America great again. We all know he's going to say that. If you'd like to play along, we're going to play along while the president gives his address. And we got a little prize. We'll let you know at the end of the day what our little prize is for folks who win. If you want to play along at home, you can go to My Northwest. There's a link to the story, and there's a link to a program that will let you download your own randomly selected bingo card. You can play along at home if you want to listen to the president's address and play along. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Again, it's Liberation Day Bingo. You can get your card at My Northwest. Now, before we run out of time, there is a company called Camping World.
Camping World. They sell
I want to make
RVs.
sure I get it right. Yeah, I've stopped through them.
Okay.
I have had the pleasure of bringing an RV both from Wenatchee to Phoenix and then Phoenix to Wenatchee seasonally while my father-in-law was still alive. We would take him down in the springtime, or the fall to Arizona, and then back up to Wenatchee in the springtime.
They have 200 plus locations nationwide.
They are a staple of interstate travel. If you've ever traveled interstate, you know Camping World, and you know where they are because there's this amazingly large American flag flying at their locations.
This was a little deceiving to me because I read this story over at Fox Business, and they have a picture of a Camping World with an American flag in front of it, and so it looks like that's the flag being written about in the story, and this one couldn't stretch beyond like 12 feet. And
No,
so
this is a 2x3 flag. Yeah,
I thought, what is all the fuss is about?
Yeah.
And then I read it down to about paragraph 12, and then it says, the Greenville City Council, that has the complaint here, said the flag is nearly the size of a basketball court at 3,200 square feet, and it flies on a pole that is 130 feet tall, almost double the size of what is currently allowed. And the CEO here, his name is Marcus Lemonis. I actually recognize his face because he was a star of a reality show on CNBC called The Prophet, where he would go in and turn around small businesses.
Really? And he's the CEO of Camping World?
Exactly
Nice.
right. And so he's throwing a big fit and says, basically, over my dead body, am I going to remove this flag? I would just like to posit, Spike, be reasonable. If it's against city ordinances and regulations, I don't care what the insignia is on the flag or what the symbol is. Just be reasonable. So much of the American law system amounts to, can we be reasonable? And I get the argument that it's not reasonable to fly a 3,200 square foot flag over your property.
Okay, comrade.
And I love America. I bleed red, white, and blue.
Do we have time to play the clip from the CEO, Laura? You have it for us?
Yeah. So Fox News asked him if he flies the flag because it's good for business. And this is what he said.
Well, I don't do it for that reason, to be candid with you. I do it because I believe in it. I'm an immigrant to this country. This country gave me an opportunity to earn a living and to employ 13,000 people. I just choose to have a big flag because I've had one since I was a little kid. And that's my way of expressing to the veterans and our customer base how much we believe in it.
To me, it's the Golden Arches when I need RV help, when I need repairs on the road. I fly. I see that flag. That's where we're going. We're getting the bearings in the trailer fixed up. We need an emergency hitch because something happened.
Okay, if you don't like the law, though, change it, right? It's currently double the size of what is allowed. So let's work within the system.
Well, see, you know me. I look for silver linings in stories.
Okay.
It's nice to know. It's nice to know that Greenville is the perfect American city, that there is no rubbish in the streets. No one's unhoused.
There you go.
There are no stray raccoons. No vermin runs amok in your garbage. The water's clean. The air's pure. They've been able to focus their attention on a flag they deem too big because it's twice code. I'm being facetious. I'm with you. Codes are important. Laws are important. They apply to everybody, not just the ones you like, but the ones you don't like as well. That's the beauty of America. People have the right to voice their opinions and do whatever to so many things that I might find untowards, unpleasant, but they've got the right to do these things. And to that point, petition the city. Greg, you made it great, but petition the city to fly a flag twice the size. It's not just a foot too big on this side and a foot too big on that side. Twice the city limits.
But what's so stupid about this argument is it's one of these classic stories that is clickbait.
Oh, of course.
And fodder for the talking heads
Yeah,
on
this is
polarized
Fox News' story of the
media,
year. Yes.
cable news.
Wall-to-wall coverage.
And the argument amounts to, oh, what are you, against the American flag? No, I'm not against the American flag.
But don't you love when they take an argument it's hard to get on the wrong side of?
You're
I love
against
that.
tomfoolery is what you're against.
You're against joy now? You're against joy, tomfoolery, the American flag?
What
am I
about
working
that
with?
statute that forbids tomfoolery?
The one in the harbor in New York? Bring us your serious. You're buttoned down. All right, it's the Jake and Spike Show. When we come back, we will have President Trump's Liberation Day address from the Oval Office. And again, if you'd like to play Liberation Day bingo, all in good fun, maybe win yourself a prize. I almost had the presidential portrait from the Colorado Capitol. Somebody looked in the dumpster. They'd already picked it up and thrown it away. Because I know it's in the dumpster. They didn't like to put. We'll be right back after these.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is for you too. Stubborn fat is really hard to get rid of, and then there's all those gimmicky lasers, fat freezing methods, and prescriptions. Imagine a simple solution that takes just one day and provides immediate noticeable results. Introducing ProSculpt. ProSculpt uses air-assisted technology that's safe and gentle yet powerful, delivering instant fat-reducing and skin-tightening results. Performed by board-certified plastic surgeons while fully awake, ProSculpt contours your body with minimal downtime. It's designed to target those problem areas: waistline, neck, face, arms, thighs. ProSculpt gently removes unwanted fat and tightens loose skin with FDA-cleared plasma technology, all in a simple, guaranteed one-day procedure. ProSculpt is one and done. Schedule your free consultation at prosculpt.com for $250 off. For powerful permanent fat removal and skin tightening that works for ladies and you men, it's prosculpt.com.
Jason Rance here with our local tax expert and advocate Greg Nunn from None Better Tax Resolution. So Greg, not all tax resolution companies are the same. There are some that are definitely not local. There are others that don't quite know what they're doing even.
Well, I tell you, these ads that all of us hear, Fresh Start program, they make you feel like, hey, man, I can just easy peasy get my taxes written off. No. And I've had several clients actually come to me after going through that process, and they just get no response after a while. They're passed around from person to person. That doesn't happen at my firm.
You are familiar with the cases that come in. You're working on them.
I'm familiar with every case that comes into our office. And I know what's going on and have the ability to really advise our taxpayers very well on what to do.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, then call Greg Nunn. None Better Tax Resolution, from stress to success with IRS Solutions. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN. None Better Tax Resolution.
Need a new roof now? With State Roofing and Exteriors, you can get started with zero down, zero payments, and zero interest for up to 24 months. That's right. Protect your home now and pay later. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today.
Hi, this is Keith Dashafee, owner of Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. Are you ready to enhance your home with stunning, energy-efficient windows and doors? At Pella, we offer top-quality products with innovative designs and exceptional craftsmanship. And right now, we're offering an amazing deal. Enjoy 12 months with no interest and no payments, or get 40% off qualifying installs. My team is dedicated to helping you every step of the way. Visit PellaPNW.com to schedule your free appointment today. That's PellaPNW.com.
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio Northwest News.
I'm Macy House with Baird Global Investment Banking. In today's markets, global financial capabilities aren't worth much without personal attention to your priorities. Baird Banking, Research, and Private Equity professionals are located across 3 continents, sharing more than investment expertise. As employee owners of our firm, we all have a personal stake in your success, here in the Pacific Northwest and around the world. Discover the Baird difference. Visit rwbaird.com/Seattle.
Charlie Harder here. When your hot turns to cold, you better think fast. Fast water heater. Call 1-800-THINK-FAST. That's 1-800-THINK-FAST or fastwaterheater.com.
You better think fast. Fast water heater.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News. This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. The world is waiting for President Trump's latest tariffs. Linda Kenyon is at the White House for the announcement expected this hour.
Rank-and-file auto workers and steel workers are among the guests, along with members of the Trump cabinet. They'll be hearing the details of President Trump's plan to impose matching tariffs on any country that levies tariffs against American-made products. Many tariffs on Chinese products have been discussed, including on merchandise considered low value, like goods under $800. In addition, the president could be announcing the creation of what he calls the External Revenue Service, which would collect revenue from those tariffs. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
Colin Slaybach is a professor at New York University.
We're really straining our trading partners in this instance, and we're also asking for consumers to pay these higher prices in the short term, and then also we're messing up supply chains.
CBS's Jason Allen is in Laredo, Texas, where companies have been rushing to truck goods across the border.
These lots are absolutely packed, and that is because for the last several days, companies have been crossing. That's the word I heard from one broker. Get your things here as quickly as you can. Try to do it before any of these new tariffs go into effect.
Auto sales have been brisk ahead of the expected tariffs. This car dealer in Windsor, Canada.
We have seen that surge. People are concerned about the tariffs. The vehicles we have on the lot right now are tariff-free because they're here on the property.
There is very severe weather forecast for much of the nation. Meteorologist Grant Gilmore.
12.8 million people across the South up into the Great Lakes today. They're underneath this threat for severe storms. And it's not just tornadoes, but it's going to be very damaging winds and even large hail. We're talking about hailstones 2 to 3 inches in diameter.
There's new insight into a deadly school shooting in Tennessee. Jim Krasula has that story.
Police say the 28-year-old female shooter behind the fatal March 2023 Nashville elementary school shooting that left 6 people dead, including 3 children, had been planning the attack for years while hiding her mental health issues from medical providers. That's the finding of a report from Metro Nashville Police that closes the investigation into the shooting at the Covenant School.
With the ban set to go into place on Saturday, Amazon is among at least 2 companies interested in buying TikTok. Israel's prime minister has announced the military will establish new security buffer zones in Gaza. It would cut off Rafah, which Israel has ordered evacuated. On Wall Street, the Dow finished up 235 points. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
We are expecting to hear from President Trump any moment about his new tariffs. We'll go live to that speech. But first, from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. In Seattle, a crash is blocking a lane on I-5 northbound near Michigan Street. You're backed up to North Boeing Field. The stall's been removed from I-90 inside the Mount Baker Tunnel. Traffic's backed up to Mercer Island still. In Renton, the crash has been cleared from I-405 at Northeast 44th. Travel time Bellevue to Renton is still about 20 minutes longer than typical. Traffic brought to you by Home Comfort Alliance. Get up to $6,000 in rebates plus save 10% on heat pumps through April. HomeComfortAlliance.com.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Heather Bosch. First responders are combing the woods around Arlington looking for a missing man. 21-year-old Jonathan Hong is autistic. His sister tells KIRO 7 TV he went out the back door Sunday evening.
He is so kind and genuine and honest, and just of all of the people to just be disappeared, he's the last person to deserve that.
We have put his photo on mynorthwest.com. Call 911 if you see him. Police in Squim are searching for the hit-and-run driver who seriously injured a child this week. More from KIRO 7 TV's Samantha Lomibao.
Cherie Tischel wants to find the driver who struck her 13-year-old son, Colton.
He was out skateboarding with his friends at spring break, so I allowed him to go out with his friends, and a car came down and just hit him and ran.
Tischel tells me Colton's friends were focused on taking care of him.
Held him and put his shirt around his head to hold the wound in. The other two kids ran to get help.
Colton was airlifted to Harborview Medical Center with serious injuries.
Seattle police are investigating a deadly shooting in the First Hill neighborhood this morning. A 40-year-old man was gunned down near Seneca Street and Minor Avenue. No word on suspects. A teen accused of murder in a drug deal gone bad faces a judge.
18-year-old Zaire Orr is charged with murder in the first degree for fatally shooting 19-year-old McKinley Williams during a small marijuana sale February 4th. Prosecutors allege Orr and two other teens planned to rob Williams. When Williams tried to drive away, he was shot once in the head. Here's Casey McNerney with the King County Prosecutor's Office.
We asked the court to hold him on $3 million, and the court upheld that bail amount.
Orr is due back in court later this month. James Lynch, KIRO News Radio.
Seattle school bus drivers represented by the Teamsters have voted to strike if no contract is reached between their union and the bus company for a student. Drivers tell KIRO 7 TV.
This is Seattle. We want living wages. You get what you pay for.
We're ready if we have to. But we're hoping that we won't have to.
We go live now to President Trump. KIRO News Radio, President Trump any moment talking about a new round of tariffs. The president making his way to the podium right now.
I do appreciate Andrew standing at attention in the other room. That is a
and saluting, which is kind of off-putting.
That is actually wonderful.
But it looks like this speech is going to take place in the Rose Garden, Heather.
The freshly paved Rose Garden.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And there are American flags by the count of about 12 or 16.
A dozen or so. A lot of applause as he enters. Trump saying tariffs will, as he would say, make America great again.
Thank you. Nice crowd. What a good-looking group of people. Well, we have some very, very good news today, and a lot of good things are happening for our country. Please sit down. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. Going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steel workers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen, we have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. We had an American dream that you don't hear so much about. You did 4 years ago, and you are now, but you don't too often, and for many years and decades even, you didn't hear too much about. Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that. This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, and in so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly. With today's action, we are finally going to be able to make America great again, greater than ever before. Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. And ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers. This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back. We're going to come back very strongly. We're pleased to be joined on this momentous occasion by Vice President J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Where are you, J.D.? No, that wasn't too hard to find. I was looking, he likes to take a low-key attitude, so it'd usually be sit right in front. He's gaining a lot of confidence, Mike, isn't he? And nearly my entire cabinet is here, as well as Speaker Mike Johnson, who's done an amazing job. And with the great success we had last night in Florida, we have a majority of 7. And 7's like a lot when we had it at 1, right? You've done a fantastic job. And many of the members of the House and Senate are with us. Senators, Congressmen, thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it. For decades, the United States slashed our trade barriers on other countries, while those nations placed massive tariffs on our products and created outrageous non-monetary barriers to decimate our industries. And in many cases, the non-monetary barriers were worse than the monetary ones. They manipulated their currencies, subsidized their exports, stole our intellectual property, imposed exorbitant VAT taxes to disadvantage our products, adopted unfair rules and technical standards, and created filthy pollution havens. They were absolutely filthy, but they always came to us and they said, we're violating, we should pay for it. It's all detailed in a very big report by the U.S. Trade Representative on foreign trade barriers, and I'll just hold it up for you. It's available, and you don't have to pay too much. As I understand it, you'll pay nothing. It's a lot of work for something, actually, because it's a special book. It's frankly, it's very upsetting when you read it, when you see what people have been doing to us for 30 years. This all happened with no response from the United States of America, none whatsoever. But those days are over. Let me offer just a few examples of the vicious attacks our workers have faced for so many years. The United States charges other countries only a 2.4 tariff on motorcycles. Meanwhile, Thailand and others are charging much higher prices, like 60%. India charges 70%. Vietnam charges 75%, and others are even higher than that. Likewise, until today, the United States has for decades charged a 2.5 tariff. Think of that, 2.5% on foreign-made automobiles. The European Union charges us more than 10% tariffs, and they have 20% VATs, much, much higher. India charges 70%, and perhaps worst of all are the non-monetary restrictions imposed by South Korea, Japan, and very many other nations. As a result of these colossal trade barriers, 81% of the cars in South Korea are made in South Korea. 94% of the cars in Japan are made in Japan. Toyota sells 1 million foreign-made automobiles into the United States, and General Motors sells almost none. Ford sells very little. None of our companies are allowed to go into other countries. And I say that, friend and foe. And in many cases, the friend is worse than the foe in terms of trade. But such horrendous imbalances have devastated our industrial base and put our national security at risk. I don't blame these other countries at all for this calamity. I blame former presidents and past leaders who weren't doing their job. They let it happen. and they let it happen to an extent that nobody can even believe. That's why, effective at midnight, we will impose a 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles. Thank you. Brian, I'd like to have you come up here for a second, okay? I just see him sitting. He's been a fan of ours, and he understands this business a lot better than the economists, a lot better than anybody. Brian, say a few words, please, would you? Thank you, Mr. Thank you. It's a great honor to have you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I grew up just north of Detroit, Michigan, in Macomb County, known as the home of the Reagan Democrats. My first vote for president was for Ronald Reagan. I thought that was going to be the best president I ever saw in my lifetime until Donald J. Trump came along. I have watched my entire life, I have watched plant after plant after plant in Detroit and in the metro Detroit area close. There are now plants sitting idle. There are now plants that are underutilized, and Donald Trump's policies are going to bring product back into those underutilized plants. There's going to be new investment. There's going to be new plants built. And the UAW members, and I brought 20 of them with me, they're sitting right over here. We support Donald Trump's policies on tariffs 100%. So, Mr. President, we can't thank you enough. And in 6 months or a year, we're going to begin to see the benefits. I can't wait to see what's happening 3 or 4 years down the road. Thank you, Mr. President.
What a great guy. He got it right from the beginning. He got it before almost anybody else. This group over there, they got it too. And you know, we won the state of Michigan. We won almost all of them, but we won Michigan by a lot, and I want to just thank you all. The auto workers were fantastic. The Teamsters were fantastic. Everyone was pretty good, I will tell you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're going to be very happy very soon, and you probably see what's happening with all of the, not only car companies, but car companies in particular. See it with all of the ones they're moving, they're announcing day in, day out. You're seeing it. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. With today's actions, we're also standing up for our great farmers and ranchers who are brutalized by nations all over the world. Brutalized. Canada, by the way, imposes a 250 to 300% tariff on many of our dairy products. They do the first can of milk. They do the first little carton of milk at a very low price, but after that it gets bad, and then it gets up to 275, 300%. So when they're figuring what's Canada charging, they say, oh, about 2%, 3%. But take a look at what happens down the road. When you look a little bit, it's not a pretty picture, and we don't like it, and it's not fair. It's not fair to our farmers. It's not fair to our country. And with countries like Canada, you know, we subsidize a lot of countries and keep them going and keep them in business. In the case of Mexico, it's $300 billion a year. In the case of Canada, it's close to $200 billion a year. And I say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I mean, at what point do we say you got to work for yourselves, and you got to? This is why we have the big deficits. This is why we have that amount of debt that's been placed on our heads over the last number of years, and we're really not taking it anymore. Through non-tariff barriers, the European Union bans imports of most American poultry. You understand? They say, we want to send you our cars, we want to send you everything, but we're not going to take anything that you have. Australia bans, and they're wonderful people and wonderful everything, but they ban American beef, yet we imported $3 billion of Australian beef from them just last year alone. They won't take any of our beef. They don't want it because they don't want it to affect their farmers. And you know what? I don't blame them, but we're doing the same thing right now, starting about midnight tonight, I would say. And China charges American rice farmers an overquota, it's called, a tariff rate of 65%. South Korea charges 50%. Actually, they charge different, from 50% to 513%. And Japan, our friend, charges us 700%. But that's because they don't want us selling rice, another thing. Who can blame them, Madam Secretary? Agriculture, great job you did on eggs, by the way. The egg prices came down 50%. He got them down 50%. Once we got involved, they were going through the sky. The egg prices, they were going through the sky, and you did a fantastic job. Now we have lots of eggs, and they're much cheaper, down about 59% now, and they're going down further. We charge 2.8% for so many things that other countries are charging 200%, 300%, and 400% for. If imposing tariffs and protective barriers made nations poor, then every country on earth would be racing to eliminate these policies, and China would be the first on line. They run a very strong country, but they're not first in line, and the American people are paying a very big price. From 1789 to 1913, we were a tariff-backed nation, and the United States was proportionately the wealthiest it has ever been. So wealthy, in fact, that in the 1880s, they established a commission to decide what they were going to do with the vast sums of money they were collecting. We were collecting so much money so fast, we didn't know what to do with it. Isn't that a nice problem to have? What do you think, Marco? Good problem? Marco would love that problem. But we don't have that problem anymore, but we're not going to have it very much longer, I will tell you. But they collected so much money, they actually formed a commission to determine what they were going to do with the money, who they were going to give it to, and how much. Then in 1913, for reasons unknown to mankind, they established the income tax so that citizens, rather than foreign countries, would start paying the money necessary to run our government. Then in 1929, it all came to a very abrupt end with the Great Depression, and it would have never happened if they had stayed with the tariff policy. It would have been a much different story. They tried to bring back tariffs to save our country, but it was gone. It was gone. It was too late. Nothing could have been done. It took years and years to get out of that depression, far longer than even FDR had that office right over there for a long period of time. The ramp system, that's rather intricate, was built because of him, and every time you walk up, you think of him, and he did a great job in many ways, but it lasted long beyond his terms, as you know. But it's not too late any longer, and we're going to start being smart, and we're going to start being very wealthy again. We're going to be wealthy as a country because they've taken so much of our wealth away from us. We're not going to let that happen. We truly can be very wealthy. We can be so much wealthier than any country. It's not even believable, but we're getting smart. Nearly a century later, in the face of unrelenting economic warfare, the United States can no longer continue with a policy of unilateral economic surrender. We cannot pay the deficits of Canada, Mexico, and so many other countries. We used to do it. We can't do it anymore. We take care of countries all over the world. We pay for their military. We pay for everything they have to pay, and then when you want to cut back a little bit, they get upset that you're not taking care of them any longer. But we have to take care of our people, and we're going to take care of our people first, and I'm sorry to say that. And today we're standing up for the American worker, and we are finally putting America first. In Sleepy Joe Biden's last year in office, the United States hemorrhaged 100,000 manufacturing jobs, and the number was going through the roof at levels never seen before. And our trade deficit reached a record $1.2 trillion, which is unheard of. Since the beginning of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, it was a horror show. I was able to terminate it. They all said you'd never be able to get it out. We had to get approval from Congress to get it terminated. We had to live with that deal. It was the worst trade deal ever made by far. But since the very beginning of NAFTA, our country lost 90,000 factories. Think of what that is, 90,000. Think about putting a map up and putting text on it. You wouldn't have enough room. 90,000. I said, is that possible? We had it checked 4 different times, and it was actually somewhat higher than that. And 5 million manufacturing jobs were lost while racking up trade deficits of $19 trillion. That was the worst trade deal ever made. As a result of these gigantic losses, foreign nations now own $26 trillion more of American assets than think of this, than the Americans own of their own foreign assets or other foreign assets. The United States can no longer produce enough antibiotics to treat our sick. We have a tremendous problem. We have to go to foreign countries to treat our sick. If anything ever happened from a war standpoint, we wouldn't be able to do it. We import virtually all of our computers, phones, televisions, and electronics. We used to dominate the field, and now we import it all from different countries. A single shipyard in China now produces more ships every year than all of the American shipyards combined. Think of that.
You're listening to live coverage of President Donald Trump addressing from the Rose Garden his announcement of international tariff, a new policy, well, not a new policy, but a long-promised policy from the Trump administration. We'll come back with the continued coverage and our analysis of the president's comments to this point and complete coverage of everything the president delivers right after these.
This hour is brought to you by Insulation Northwest.
Hey there, I'm Chris Sullivan, traffic reporter for KIRO Newsradio. The favorite part about my job is helping you get answers to your traffic questions.
Will this construction ever end?
How do you zipper merge?
Just how close is tailgating?
Now I need your help. What burning questions do you have? What should I be looking into? You can help drive the conversation by going to mynorthwest.com or text choke points to 888-973-5476. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the star of my next Choke Points story. Presented by Carter Subaru.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Paid political announcement.
We live here in Washington. I travel all over the state for work.
Affordable short-term rentals help us stay together and make Hazel feel at home.
Now Olympia is considering a huge tax increase on short-term rentals,
pricing us and other families out, since more than half of short-term rentals here are used by Washingtonians.
Costs on everything are going up.
Please tell legislators not to make our trips more expensive, too.
Paid for by Airbnb helps our state thrive. Host Pack.
I saw her texting, coming up to a stop sign, and so I saw the accident coming, and she T-boned us.
In the blink of an eye, Crystal's life changed when she suffered a severe spinal injury.
The pain was something I had never experienced before in my neck. I got massage therapy. I saw a chiropractor. I was prescribed muscle relaxers so I could sleep. I got depressed. Nothing was relieving the pain.
Drugs, sleepless nights, and depression. Sound familiar? I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist. At Sound Pain Solutions, our treatments include high-dose laser combined with spinal decompression and other comprehensive therapies to rehabilitate damaged discs. We use treatments that are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, drug and pain-free.
I was able to get off my pain medicines, and I was able to sleep through the night, and that was what I was desperate for.
To learn if you're a candidate for our treatment, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025, or click soundpainsolutions.com.
It's Charlie Harder. Starting Monday, someone very special is joining our team on Seattle's Morning News. She has been waking up Seattle listeners for decades. Who is it? You'll find out Monday morning. Seattle's Morning News on KIRO News Radio.
Spring is officially here, and with it comes some unpredictable Pacific Northwest weather. This time of year, heavy rain can be especially tough on an old roof. An unexpected roof leak can be stressful. If your roof does spring a leak, Valentine Roofing has you covered with our Leak Stop Guarantee. We'll stop a leak in your old roof for free until the new one is safely installed. And we offer this leak stop service year-round, so you're never left scrambling for a bucket on your own. But don't wait for a roofing emergency. Schedule your free estimate now before you have the headache of dealing with a leak. Our estimates are straightforward. We'll provide you with an honest assessment of your roof's condition, along with our best price right from the start, all within about an hour of when we arrive. Call Valentine Roofing today, and we can get your roof replacement started with our priority scheduling. For roof replacements, repairs, and cleaning, call Valentine Roofing today at 206 Roofing. That's 206 Roofing to schedule your free estimate.
The preseason AC sale is on now at Bob's Heating and Air Conditioning. This month only, keep your home cool and your wallet comfortable with 15% off. Plus, free financing on all air conditioners, heat pumps, and ductless systems. Trust the team voted best in the Pacific Northwest and call Bob's today for your free estimate. Hurry, the discount reduces to 10% off in May. Call Bob's Heating and Air Conditioning today.
Bob's Heating and Air Conditioning. Call Bob.
A good retirement requires more than just having a retirement nest egg and a good investment strategy. Sadly, most people don't have that kind of a plan. And that's why retirement turns into a nightmare for most retirees. Nightmares of one falling ill and ending up in a nursing home, becoming a burden on loved ones, and losing money to uncovered care costs. All preventable with the right retirement plan. Hi, this is elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich and founder of LifePoint Law. Let me invite you to resolve to make 2025 the year you create a real plan for retirement. I've helped thousands of people in the Seattle area, and I know I can help you too. Come to one of my retirement planning seminars this month, and I will show you how.
Attend the free seminar in Federal Way on April 5th, Olympia on April 8th, or Bellevue on April 10th. Register at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Our local tax expert Greg Nunn wants taxpayers to know the IRS is now going after older cases very aggressively. If you received Form CP-504 from the IRS, do not ignore it. Be proactive and resolve your situation with Greg Nunn, N-U-N-N, None Better Tax Resolution.
KIRO News Radio, continuing coverage.
CBS News special report. President Trump is announcing new tariffs.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time.
He said it's to even the playing field after decades of other countries placing massive tariffs on U.S. products.
I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal. That means they do it to us and we do it to them.
Trump said his decision will also boost manufacturing in this country and help improve the nation's trade deficit.
This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence.
He said his actions will begin at midnight tonight. His announcement came just after the closing bell on Wall Street. The Dow finished 235 points higher. The U.S. dollar fell 1% against the euro. CBS News special report. I'm Cammie McCormick.
And I'm Jillian Raftery on KIRO News Radio. We'll be bringing you special reports on the president's tariff announcements throughout the afternoon. Checking a few of our top local stories here. A new measles case reported in Snohomish County. An infant came back from traveling out of the country and got sick. This is the third case of measles in Washington since January. You can check mynorthwest.com for a list of locations where that child was, where people may have been exposed. Lakewood's Assistant Police Chief John Unfred has been placed on leave pending an investigation. It's not clear what has prompted the investigation or who will conduct it. KIRO 7 TV reports once it's done, Unfred is expected to return to the job. He was placed on leave March 19th. He's been Assistant Chief with Lakewood PD for nearly 10 years and has been with the department for 20. Here's your closing bell report. Some of Washington's largest corporations are warning Democrats in Olympia to drop the wealth and payroll taxes, warning it will harm the state's economy.
Washington state cannot sustain continued tax and spending increases and simultaneously maintain our economic resilience and competitiveness. That's according to a letter sent to state Democrats and obtained by mynorthwest.com. Dozens of large businesses urged Governor Ferguson and Democratic and Republican leadership to review and revise the budget proposals to drop controversial taxes. The signatories include Amazon, Microsoft, the Seattle Mariners, Alaska Airlines, Costco, and Puget Sound Energy. The letter was sent after Governor Ferguson rejected two Democratic budgets that included a wealth tax. Frank Lindsay, KIRO News Radio.
As you heard in CBS News, the markets are closing up, but there will be lots of analysis to do in the coming days. So far, the Dow is up 0.5%, S&P 500 up 0.67%, NASDAQ up 0.87%. Now let's get a check of your traffic from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. Starting to see heavy traffic on 405 southbound from downtown Bellevue is a few minutes behind schedule until you pass Factoria. Northbound from 405 interchange into Renton, also slow. Nothing blocking, just volume right now. I-5 starting to get heavy in and out of downtown Seattle. Seattle to Federal Way, travel time is 34 minutes. Seattle to Everett, still pretty okay at 36 minutes. Lake Bridges looking good. South Sound freeways are speed limit drive once you get to Federal Way. Tacoma, Lakewood, then Olympia, all looking good there. Don't forget Mariners game at 1:10 p.m. Expect traffic around SoDo. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. We are going to be mostly cloudy for the rest of the day with a high of 52 degrees, overnight low of 39 degrees. Supposed to start the day with light rain in the morning that clears out with actual sun breaks. Oh my goodness, Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Looking pretty good too with highs in the mid 50s, clocking 68 possibly by Saturday. It is 48 degrees right now in downtown Seattle. I'm Jillian Raftery for KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to KIRO News Radio, the Jake and Spike Show. Let's tip back into the Rose Garden, listen to the president for a moment, if we can.
Out of the water, seeking chips, they get a kick out of it, but they're not getting such a kick out of it now, are they, Mr. Secretary? They're not getting such a kick out of that now. But here are just a short list of some of the companies that have already announced and committed to investment. And this is a company that built its factories and its plants in China. Apple is going to spend $500 billion. They never spent money like that here. They're going to build their plants here. SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle, great companies, are investing $500 billion almost immediately. NVIDIA, a hot company, is investing hundreds of billions of dollars. They just announced. TSMC, the biggest, most important company in the world of chips from Taiwan, with no investment from us, is investing $200 billion. And they said the reason was, number one, the election of November 5th, and number two, the tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs, and the way they're not paying it is to build their plant here. So we're going to go from almost no percentage. We used to have 100% of the chip market. Now it's all in Taiwan. Almost all of it's in Taiwan, a couple of other countries, but mostly in Taiwan. And think of it, we had 100%. We lost it because of people in that office that didn't do their job. They allowed it to be stolen from us.
We could let's take a moment to just look back, Greg, on what the president has said to this point. I know that the address will continue. The president spent quite a bit of time reeling off. He had a complete list of countries that do put tariffs on American products that come into their countries, and the proposed retaliatory tariffs. He often generalized that we would be imposing just about half is the guideline they seem to be using for whatever country, whether it was Switzerland or Cambodia or Vietnam or China or wherever it was, whatever. It must have had 20 different countries there listed, and that we would be sending back reciprocal tariffs on these countries and to the tune of half, which is a great way to frame this as you put this rather precarious economic trade policy globally into play. What are your thoughts on the president's? I know that he loves to speak, and he's got a captive laughing audience that he likes to make jokes and read lists and all the things that he loves to be in front of a crowd. From an economic standpoint,
I remain unconvinced by the president's rhetoric on tariffs. In 2022, it's estimated that exports directly and indirectly supported approximately 10.2 million jobs in America. He always talks about tariffs being a big jobs generator. Well, what about all those jobs that depend on trade, right?
Yeah.
6.7% of the total U.S. employment are those jobs dependent upon exports and imports. Each $1 billion of exports is estimated to have supported 4,100 jobs. The president earlier in his speech said that America has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far.
Friend and foe.
He's no stranger to hyperbole, but even that is pretty extreme. I would argue that we have not suffered economically the last 20, 30, 40 years because of free trade. In fact, we've prospered with our allies and even in trading with our adversaries. Our GDP is the highest in the world, followed by China and Germany. He says there's countries out there that steal our intellectual property. That is definitely true of China. We've been subject to China's economic espionage for years and a policy of rob, replicate, and replace that they have implemented. I don't know if tariffs is exactly the right counter to that. I think
cybersecurity might be a better counter to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I saw a very interesting chart today, Spike, the trade-weighted average tariff rates for the G20 economies in the year 2023. So Japan has the lowest trade-weighted average at 1.9%. We're second at 2.2%, followed by Australia, France, Germany, very rich countries in the world. The nations in the G20 with the highest tariffs are some of the most poor. You've got Turkey, Brazil, Argentina, Russia. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think there's a positive correlation between how poor a country is and how high their tariffs are. Countries that have very high tariffs are only hurting themselves. Trump talks about how it's such a negative thing for us that we can't sell cars in China. Well, that hurts China far more than it hurts us, honestly. This is a very expensive jobs program. We're going to see the visible effects of tariffs in the short term. You're going to see respective industries start to hire more. You know, if you're importing less steel, you're going to create more steel. But America is no longer a manufacturing country. We are a service based country, and I don't know. I think that ship has sailed. I don't know if we're ever going to be the manufacturing behemoth we once were because times have changed.
Yeah, that's a great perspective because that's what I think the goal here is admirable from President Trump to bring back production to America, to have America generate. He thinks tariffs generate wealth, and that other countries pay tariffs, which is the flawed understanding of the true definition of what a tariff is. Every economic expert will tell you that tariffs are paid by the consumers in America. As imported items are brought into America, the manufacturer abroad is charged a tariff, then passing that cost onto the American importer, who then passes that cost onto the American consumer. President Trump has been challenged on that misunderstanding of the true definition of tariff, and has just dismissed it as, well, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm right, they're wrong. A couple of things the president said during that our first 25 minutes that we listened in to the president's speech from the Rose Garden. You know, he had an overarching message to deliver, not just about economic independence, but about isolationism. He complained about the U.S. being, a funding defense for other countries in the world, and the things he's laying the groundwork and signaling his intent to become a true isolationist, to limit international trade, international commerce. To your point earlier, how many 10.2 million jobs are dependent directly on trade in this country? He said that we had a great economy and before the Great Depression, and when we had so many tariffs. Most people will agree that the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, which cut U.S. International trade by 65%, was one of the main contributing factors to the Great Depression.
I learned that in the 1986 movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Exactly. Anyone?
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the the Great Depression, passed the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which anyone raised or lowered raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression.
Thank you, John Hughes, for the education.
I know, right? Seriously. Over 1,000 economists urged Hoover not to take this economic route, and this was in 1930. And every economist today has tried to urge this president not to impose these sweeping international trade tariffs on friend and foe alike. We'll see how it goes. We look at the futures market tonight as international markets react to these incredibly impactful trades.
I'm worried what it's going to do with what it's going to do to our NATO allies, who have been needing to raise the amount of money they're spending on defense. Protectionism, isolationism is going to hurt those countries greatly when they need to be producing more, making more, and spending more with the Russia threat looming. It's going to be a ripple effect.
It's going to be
and it's going to be bad.
I think it's going to be a tsunami type effect. We'll have more coverage of the president's address from the Rose Garden after this, and we're going to switch around some other topics as well. Got a very interesting discussion scheduled today for a major iconic American franchise brand, well known, iconic. They're on the ropes and they want to try to change their image. We'll see if it's even doable. The Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tom. We'll be right back.
The closing bell is brought to you by Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund.
Seattle's morning news has been all about teamwork these past few months, but we knew something was still missing. Starting Monday, we complete the team with a familiar voice to Seattle News listeners. The big reveal happens Monday morning on KIRO News Radio.
Washington State has the third highest cost of living in the nation. If Olympia politicians raise taxes again, the cost of everything from groceries and gas to housing will go up even more. They've already doubled spending over 10 years, with little to show for it. Washington State needs lower costs, not higher taxes. Demand smarter state spending now at affordablewashington.org. Paid for by people for an affordable Washington and Olympia, Washington. Top 5 donors are Washington Alliance for Competitive Economy, Microsoft, Madrona, T-Mobile, and Alaska Air.
Cold is leaking and rocks are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Why choose Home Comfort Alliance? Because your comfort is their promise. Hey, it's John Curley. Home Comfort Alliance promises you reliable heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical services all from one company you can trust. So do what I did. Call the comfort people at Home Comfort Alliance for all your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs. Visit HomeComfortAlliance.com and tell them John Curley sent you. That's HomeComfortAlliance.com.
Are you putting off your new kitchen plans? Why wait? Hi, I'm Chad Cicchini, owner of Heritage Homecraft, and we've got an offer you're not going to want to wait for. We'll custom build you all new cabinet doors and drawer fronts, and using our exclusive 1/4-inch solid wood refacing process, transform your existing cabinets into a beautiful new kitchen. Stop waiting. We're having a trade-in sale. You'll save $30 per door and drawer front off the cost of your new kitchen. Count them up and see how much you'll save. Heritage Homecraft, 425-485-1600 or heritagehomecraft.com.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
A good retirement requires more than just having a retirement nest egg and a good investment strategy. Sadly, most people don't have that kind of a plan. And that's why retirement turns into a nightmare for most retirees. Nightmares of one falling ill and ending up in a nursing home, becoming a burden on loved ones, and losing money to uncovered care costs. All preventable with the right retirement plan. Hi, this is elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich and founder of LifePoint Law. Let me invite you to resolve to make 2025 the year you create a real plan for retirement. I've helped thousands of people in the Seattle area, and I know I can help you too. Come to one of my retirement planning seminars this month, and I will show you how.
Attend the free seminar in Federal Way on April 5th, Olympia on April 8th, or Bellevue on April 10th. Register at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Their video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Cars for Kids, the easy way to donate your car. Donate today and your car can be picked up tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.com or 1-877-CARS4KIDS.
Hi, this is Keith Dashafi, owner of Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. Are you ready to enhance your home with stunning, energy-efficient windows and doors? At Pella, we offer top-quality products with innovative designs and exceptional craftsmanship. And right now, we're offering an amazing deal. Enjoy 12 months with no interest and no payments, or get 40% off qualifying installs. My team is dedicated to helping you every step of the way. Visit PellaPNW.com to schedule your free appointment today. That's PellaPNW.com.
Welcome back to KIRO News Radio, the Jake and Spike Show. Greg Tomlin sitting in for Jake Skorheim today. I'm Spike O'Neill. We return now to the Rose Garden where the president continues to address.
Did you do that? And all of the other things that the Senate budget plan gives us, along with working, because I know they're working together, John and Mike, and the two bills are going very well together. We need to get our shared priorities done, including certain permanent tax cuts. We want the tax cuts to be permanent, spending cuts, energy and historic investments in defense, border, and so much more. We're covering everything. These will be phenomenal. There'll be no bill like this going to straighten. One bill is going to straighten out our country for many, many years to come. And we said, let's just do it and let's get it done. And some guys will love it and some guys will like it a little bit less because they're not getting what they were exactly looking for, but they're getting a lot. They'll never, if we get this done, it'll be the most incredible bill ever passed in the history of our Congress and Senate and congressmen, the senators and the congressmen, many of whom are here today, will be very proud of themselves. I really believe that it's going to set us on a whole new prosperous path. We're going to cut spending and right-size the budget back to where it should be. We're going to do that very strongly. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. John, thank you. Oh, look at all of our senators over there. Oh, boy. That's a nice group of people. But I won't like them so much if they don't get this bill done.
So as the president is delivering a very encompassing address on the Rose Garden lawn.
It's gone on about 45 minutes
45 minutes so far, and he's just getting warmed up. I've seen this guy. It's like the Springsteen of politics. This guy can do 4 hours without breaking a sweat or running his makeup.
The deeper our president gets into a speech, the more the weave starts to present itself, where he goes in and out and stream of consciousness.
That's what they call it, the weave.
I would like to interrupt this program to say I'm one square away from Spike's Liberation Day bingo.
Thank you.
I've got radical left, square crossed off, Canada, MAGA, rambling tangent. That came early on.
That came several times.
But the square I'm missing is Tiger Woods. That's going to be a stretch. That's going to be a hard one for him to say.
I'm missing Doge right now.
Is that all
before I get a bingo, and I feel like it's any minute now.
And maybe we've missed that as we've cut out. I know the news department is monitoring it for us as well, and you folks playing along at home. I just need fentanyl, and I'll have bingo. And we do this in lighthearted jest because the president, as when he speaks, this White House address has gone long beyond the proposed tariffs for the economic fairness he seeks, the elimination of exploitation, rape, plunder for foreign countries, both friend and foe.
Perhaps Trump is going to try to outshine Senator Cory Booker here with the length of this speech.
Maybe he was inspired by Cory Booker's 25-plus hour.
You got to
speech
wrap it
Congress.
up. I don't like this trend. I know people love the 3-4 hour podcast format, and we just want to hear people talk and bloviate until the cows come home. Again, brevity is the soul of wit, and these are master classes in tautology, saying the same thing over and over in different ways. It's like, how many different ways can you say the same thing?
Well, he has, to be fair, he has covered not just trade, but he's covered national security with regard to the border. He's complimented his various cabinet members and department heads on their job with border security. He's talking, when we broke back in a moment ago, President Trump's talking about his one big beautiful bill, as he's like to have it called, about what he's calling the largest tax cut in U.S. American history. Now, a lot of folks would argue that may be the largest number, but it's not going proportionally to the most Americans. Well, it's a very top-heavy tax cut, as was the Ryan tax cut of 2017.
And obviously, because he's such a big proponent of tariffs, he's going to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative.
All politicians do, and I can't blame the guy for that.
But here's what the negative is, and it's a lot harder to see because it's invisible. He's going to talk about the visible effects of job creation and manufacturing and multi-billion-dollar corporations spending more money in America. I'm not going to discount a lot of those stories, but those are the short-term positive impacts of tariffs. The long-term negative impacts are going to be largely invisible, and that is various sectors are going to be affected by the lack of investment of other countries into our country. So when we send less money to Canada, they spend less of their money here. But you're not going to hear those stories because you won't be aware of the job that average Joe is missing out in the agriculture sector in Iowa because Canada's not able to buy more agricultural goods here in America. But you will hear about the job that average Joe has in the car industry because as a direct result of tariffs. So it's going to sound and look and appear more persuasive like tariffs are working because it's much more in your face, in your eyes. You can see the person.
They'll highlight the positive gains. He mentioned the companies reinvesting in America. Remember, to your point, 1 in 4 jobs in America have an ancillary relationship to the car industry, whether it's manufacturing, sales, parts, delivery, all these jobs. And with these massive tariffs put on imports, cars, they'll be seeking various exemptions, I'm sure, as this evolutionary policy moves forward. It's the Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tallman filling in beautifully. Thank you so much. By the way, internationally, futures markets around the globe are starting to plummet with the announcement of these proposed tariffs. We'll have more when we come back right after these.
Hey, it's Charlie Harger from Seattle's Morning News. For the past few months, it's been me behind the mic, Sully keeping you moving, Katrina bringing you headlines. But starting Monday, someone very special is joining our team on Seattle's Morning News. She has been waking up Seattle listeners for decades. And now she's becoming part of our KIRO family. Who is it? You'll find out Monday morning. Seattle's Morning News, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on KIRO Newsradio.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rureka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com.
Announcing the newest, most beautiful senior living community around. It's the grand opening of Vineyard Park at North Creek Bothell, a Care Partners senior living community. Amanda here. Discover vibrant, independent, assisted living and memory care where seniors thrive with top-notch care, engaging activities, and a warm, welcoming environment. Visit carepartnersliving.com now to schedule a visit and be one of the first to call Vineyard Park at North Creek home. The grand opening of Vineyard Park at North Creek Bothell going on now. Visit carepartnersliving.com.
Hey, it's me, second base at T-Mobile Park. And my view, it's pretty sweet. I can see the big dumper flashing his platinum glove, firing a perfect throw right at me. Here comes the tag. Oh, got him.
Another strike him out, throw him out for Cal Raleigh.
Then there's Julio, stomping on me on his way to a stand-up triple. That dude is unreal.
Swinging a line drive, Julio round to third with a 2-out, 3-run triple.
And JP, smooth as silk, snaring line drives out of thin air.
And he takes a hit away!
Come check it out for yourself. There's nothing like being this close to the action. Although I'm still waiting to get invited to the Wind Dance. A base can dream. Mariners baseball. Trident's up.
Be here at T-Mobile Park next week for divisional showdowns against the Astros and Rangers. The Mariners are squaring off against Houston Monday, April 7th to Wednesday, April 9th, and Texas Friday, April 11th to Sunday, April 13th. Go to Mariners.com to lock in your seats and check out all the marquee matchups on deck at the ballpark.
Paid political announcement.
We live here in Washington. I travel all over the state for work.
Affordable short-term rentals help us stay together and make Hazel feel at home.
Now Olympia is considering a huge tax increase on short-term rentals,
pricing us and other families out, since more than half of short-term rentals here are used by Washingtonians.
Costs on everything are going up.
Please tell legislators not to make our trips more expensive too.
Paid for by Airbnb helps our state thrive. Host PAC.
When the heat's an 11,
Cool AC would be heaven.
DayandNight.net.
Beat the rush.
act now before summer.
Because that heat's a real bummer.
DayandNight.net.
This is the time to plan ahead so you stay cool this summer. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. Call us about installing a high-efficiency cooling system or servicing your existing one so you're cool when you need it.
Now save up to $4,600 on qualifying cooling equipment.
DayandNight.net.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. As promised, President Trump has announced his plans for sweeping tariffs that will have a global impact.
With today's action, we are finally going to be able to make America great again, greater than ever before.
He said our country has been looted and plundered by other nations, but he says he's being lenient to the EU, among others.
They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half.
How will all of this impact Americans? Will consumers stop buying? Kelly O'Grady of Money Watch tells us it depends.
You're likely going to see higher prices if companies pass those cost increases on. Now, I think there's a lot of concern about how much would they even be able to do that because consumers are already so price sensitive. You know, are you going to pay thousands of dollars more for an automobile, or are you just going to hold the one that you have?
On Capitol Hill, Senate Democrats weighed in. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says Republicans know this will be harsh for many Americans.
They know they're a tax hike on the American people. They know that the stock market is in turmoil, risking people's retirements. They know that consumer confidence is down.
The tariffs will impact everything from luxury goods to necessities. CBS's Ramy Inocencio in London.
Think of the likes of Rolls-Royce, for example, for engines, for F-35 fighter jets. Jaguars, Land Rovers, Pharma, AstraZeneca for treatments for cholesterol and cancer, and Burberry for its luxury products. These could all be hit.
Analysts say Trump's policies risk an economic slowdown. In other news, President Trump was expected to hold meetings today on the future of TikTok. Amazon is one company that has expressed interest in buying it. The Chinese company has until Saturday to find new owners. A federal judge today dismissed corruption charges against New York's Mayor Eric Adams, and prosecutors will not be able to bring back those charges. It was a very unusual case, as Anna Schechter tells us. It led to federal prosecutors resigning.
Such a public dispute between the Department of Justice within its own ranks, the prosecutors within its own ranks disagreeing, and have that kind of drama play out, culminating in today's decision.
Meteorologist Craig Allen says many Americans should be following the weather closely over the next few days.
Over 400,000 square miles that are being covered by the possibility of severe weather, and a population of nearly 60 million people.
The storms are bringing heavy rains, tornadoes, and hail. On Wall Street, the Dow finished the day 235 points higher. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
A search for a missing man in the woods near Arlington. We'll tell you more in just a moment. But first, from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, we're going to start with some lengthening commute times in Tukwila. Construction on 405 southbound is blocking a lane, causing backups to 167. Bellevue to South Center is now a 30-minute drive. Renton to Kent on 167 also starting to slow down, I think, because of that construction backup. That is just, Renton to Kent. That's just volume. I-5, some typical slowing in and out of downtown, but the lake bridges are still clear. And hearing about a stalled vehicle blocking one lane on the west end of the West Seattle Bridge, use caution and patience because you know how quickly that bridge backs up. Our sponsor is KIRO Newsradio.
News Radio 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Jillian Raftery. A 40-year-old man was shot and killed on First Hill this morning, and Seattle police are investigating. 911 calls started coming in just before 2 a.m. Gunshots and a man down at an apartment complex at the intersection of Seneca Street and Minor Avenue. The victim was shot at least once and was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect fled and has not been found. Police do not know what led to the shooting. Anyone with information should call SPD or 911. Quick thinking by managers at a local fast food restaurant may have prevented a workplace shooting. Deputy Carly Capetto with the Pierce County Sheriff's Office says the manager found a loaded gun in an employee's backpack after learning he planned to shoot a coworker.
When managers searched the backpack, they did in fact find a loaded gun with an extended magazine.
The suspect claimed other people gave him the gun, but police say surveillance video proved otherwise. He's facing attempted assault and stolen firearm charges for the March 18th incident. First responders have been combing the woods around Arlington looking for a missing man. 21-year-old Jonathan Huang is autistic. His sister tells KIRO 7 TV he went out the back door Sunday evening in just slip-on shoes, khaki pants, and a T-shirt and holding an iPad.
He is so kind and genuine and honest, and just of all of the people to just be disappeared, he's the last person to deserve that.
Searchers are worried that he's been gone so long, especially with the cold weather. We have a picture of him at mynorthwest.com. If you see him, call 911. Washington State boasts 3 finalists for the prestigious James Beard Culinary Awards. They include Atoma for Best New Restaurant and Archipelago for Outstanding Hospitality. Both restaurants are in Seattle. Jay Blackington of whom on Orcas Island is nominated for Best Chef in the category of Northwest and Pacific Cuisine. He tells the Seattle Times he's overwhelmed, honored, and humbled. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. We are mostly cloudy throughout the day, and while we are starting with light rain tomorrow morning, it's going to clear out, and we are going to have sun, for the rest of the day with some clouds as well. Thursday is going to be partly cloudy, Friday as well. And by Saturday, we are going to have weather in the high 60s with sun. Overnight lows in the high 30s and low 40s for the next few days. Right now, it is 51 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Jillian Raftery for KIRO Newsradio.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News. It's the all-new Jake and Spike Show on KIRO News Radio.
Welcome back to Trade War Day at KIRO News Radio. I'm Spike O'Neill along with Greg Tomlin.
How are you celebrating?
I'm by building a fence, not a wall, a fence. Like to see who's coming. It's fun watching the news. We always have network news coverage on in the studio, so we can be kept abreast of any major news developments. It's fun watching the various channels. We have both left and right leaning news sources on in the studio, and watching the Fox News coverage of President Trump's. It was just under an hour, I think, addressed to a collected group of cabinet members, administration officials, working people, working Americans. He had an auto worker step up and deliver his praise of Donald Trump. Watching the fact checkers on CNN, for example, this poor guy that's fact checking Trump, he's got smoke out of his ears. He's working so hard.
Tall order.
Yeah, President Trump was to be generous, very loose with his historical references and his historical data, claiming that the U.S. was its most wealthy before 1913, blah, 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 how tariffs built that economy, and then, tariffs, I could go on and on and on. But some of the things that President Trump mentioned that really just didn't hold water, the fact that he says inflation is down under the first 2 months of his administration, inflation is in fact up, grocery prices, egg prices are down under his administration, while there has been a drop in egg prices across America in recent weeks, grocery prices overall are ticked to go up. These trade tariffs that are proposed against our trade partners are guaranteed to make all products go up in this country, whether it be domestic or trade. He's got a long-term production return to America, which, by the way, for the disaster that was the Biden administration, there was significant legislation about bringing back production to America, significant accomplishments with regard to bringing back production to America. President Trump quoted the chip manufacturing, how we lost that war, completely dismissing the CHIPS Act passed on a bipartisan basis by the Biden administration. Major infrastructure already starting, with production plants being started in numerous states to limit the amount of trade we need for chips that depends on foreign-made chips, because it is a national security issue. I'm all for different points of view, different ideologies on how to make our country as prosperous and safe and healthy as we can be. But let's just deal in fact and reality. When the president tends to be fast and loose with the facts to paint a narrative for a waiting audience, an eager audience, a thirsty audience, it's unsettling to me.
It's a combination of flooding the zone and the weave. And I'm glad that you brought up that blue-collar worker who Trump invited to the podium in the middle of this speech, because I was struck by one thing he said in particular, which is a bit incoherent to me, and I want to get your take on this, Spike. I'll play you just the beginning of this man's comments to paint a picture here. He's got a bit of like a Civil War mustache. He's got a Trump visor on, and he's wearing sort of a bright yellow workman's vest.
Yeah, safety vest
kind of thing.
He looks like he could have walked off the assembly line at any major auto plant.
Thank you, Mr. President. I grew up just north of Detroit, Michigan, in Macomb County, known as the home of the Reagan Democrats. My first vote for president was for Ronald Reagan. I thought that was going to be the best president I ever saw in my lifetime until Donald J. Trump came along.
There it is. Big round of applause for Trump. Reagan used to be number one. Now you are number one. Exactly what Trump wants to hear. And this is all under the context of talking about imposing tariffs, increasing them dramatically with our allies and adversaries. Okay, Reagan was his former hero. What did Reagan think about tariffs, Spike?
You see, at first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition.
And he goes on for a long time excoriating tariffs. Make it make sense to me, Spike, how Reagan could be your former standard of a great president and Trump replaces him, and they are polar opposites on this very important economic issue. I mean, there's miles and miles of daylight between them here. Was it just Reagan's posture towards the world? Was it his policies, or just sort of a general feeling you got from the man, and now it's a better feeling that you're getting from Trump?
It was a projection of strength from Ronald Reagan. It really was. Reagan had an optimistic, clear vision for America, the shining city on a hill. It's a new day, it's a morning in America was the quotable line from his campaign in 1980.
But there was an agenda and policies to back up that rhetoric. And a lot of those fly completely in the face of what our current president is doing.
Well, Reagan also had a very trickle-down economics was introduced under Reagan, which is by all accounts is a mitigating disaster. There's no such thing as trickle-down economics. It really has never borne any kind of truth or benefit to the lower classes of the tax
I don't think he
brackets.
ever used the phrase trickle-down economics, but
Reagan didn't?
No.
Who coined that's great.
Liberals.
Liberals called it trickle down?
Progressives, yes.
Okay.
No one wants to be trickled on.
Well, you're reading into my words. I find it ironic and somewhat conspicuous that in the long list and the chart that President Trump brought up on stage to show the various countries and the various reciprocal tariffs that America would be imposing on other nations with regard to trade, China, the EU, Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, India, South Korea, Thailand, a litany of every nation we trade with in the world. But missing on this list is our greatest trade partner, Canada.
Canada
wasn't mentioned on this list. I've seen numerous posts about the number of trade tariffs imposed on U.S. goods, right? And it was brought up, it was fact-checked on CNN. One of the commentators on CNN post President Trump's address mentioned how these various tariffs on U.S. goods going into Canada, those tariffs that were part of the USMCA, Mexico-Canadian Agreement, that President Trump negotiated and signed into law with Canada and Mexico, all had thresholds of imports where tariffs would be initiated. If a certain volume of dairy, of produce, of meat, of lumber came into Canada from America, then these tariffs, and that's to protect smaller Canadian markets from large American manufacturers. Trade tariffs have their purpose and they can be valuable when used correctly, but not a single element of these incredibly oppressive tariff numbers have ever been kicked in. We've never got even close to the threshold of import into Canada that would have instigated any of these tariffs from Canada on American imported goods. Not one single tariff penny has been spent on the list of goods, everything from produce to hardware to electronics to lumber, all these things.
I'm glad you brought up our neighbors to the north because I saw these comments from a Canadian MP named Doug Ford today who was on cable news here in America and spoke about these reciprocal tariffs and this trade war.
Let's sit down and discuss this because it's just going to hurt American jobs. I can't stress it enough. And, again, he believes he's supporting Americans. He said he was going to create jobs, create wealth, reduce inflation. It's worked the total opposite. Inflation.
But do you think it's fair that you have tariffs on a whole number of products?
That's right. And we'd be willing to take those off tomorrow if he took all the tariffs off.
Okay, there's your phrase that pays there. And I sort of thought, is this exactly what Trump wants? We finally got a recognition of, hey, this isn't good for anybody. Maybe we should just remove all tariffs. Is that the end game that Trump is after? Or no, he just likes high tariffs because it brings manufacturing back to America, and he likes the protectionist idea. And so even if Canada's going to cancel theirs, we're going to keep ours higher. But you know what I'm saying? A lot of people have made the case to me that this is still an ongoing negotiation with Trump, and he's seeing who's going to flinch first. And when I impose tariffs, is there going to be some back down on the part of Canada, Mexico, China, Germany, you name it?
Well, that's what we've seen in the last month and a half.
And do you think this MP here is signaling, hey, we will finally back down? I mean, is this fuel for the Trump lobby that is saying, yes, this is exactly what we want, as these other countries to acknowledge that their trade policies against us have been so terrible and they're going to back away from them?
People who support the president, and I want him to do well. I don't want the country to tank under his leadership. People often say that his unpredictability, that his bravado, is a built-in, baked-in element of how he does business, and that you never know what the guy's going to do. He's crazy; he could go off at any minute. If it brings people to the table and gets them to negotiate, if it's a successful way to get tariffs reduced from everybody, then I'll give him full credit when it happens. But the problem is, it's the pain, the expected pain, that everyone is now saying is just an inevitability. You can dislike the previous administration all you want, but given the post-pandemic global economies of the major economies, developed economies on the world, America had the greatest, fastest recovery. Were prices too high? Was inflation an issue? Of course it was. America recovered faster, and there's economic evidence to bear this out. It's not just my blue love and opinion of Delaware Joe Biden. The U.S. had the fastest and most competent recovery of post-pandemic America of the world. Anybody. So they paint this disaster narrative of the Biden administration and the economy therein. Job growth, stock growth, income growth. Everything was up under the Biden administration. And here comes Donald Trump. I've got to make it mine. You know when a new manager comes in and changes everything just to put his own brand on things? That's our lives he's playing with to make it his economy. He wants, and I heard somebody, they phrased it, it's a restructuring of the global trade order is what Trump is seeking here. To your point earlier, are we ever going to be a manufacturing-based economy again?
No.
Would it be great
That's a bygone era.
Right. That would be great to have an increase in production in America. Of course it would. Good paying jobs are essential to the American way of life.
Nevertheless, are we at war? Harris Faulkner of Fox News made this unfortunate analogy, and I want to get your take on it.
By money, but by vote, understand what's coming. And those 401k people who are depending, those retirees, all of that, just talking plain speak with them. Look, when this nation used to go to war, people in this country would support the war effort with their materials at home and making things for weaponry and all of that. We got to do 100% buy-in over this bumpy period. Just communicate.
I don't know about you, Spike, but I don't want to go to war with Canada and Mexico.
I'm offended by that.
Yeah.
The sacrifice Americans, any nation makes during a time of war, right? And why do you go to war? To stop the spread of fascism in World War II, to whatever the cause, genocide in Bosnia and Herzegovina, whatever it is that where U.S. troops are sent abroad, war. I mean, to equate tough economic times for the lower to middle class because of self-inflicted trade war economic wounds by the Trump administration is insulting. I heard that quote 2 days ago, and I just wanted to zook. I mean, but a lot of the things said in defense of President Trump's policies by a capitulating and servitude media in the conservative. Greg, you've got a conservative bent, but you've got a very even-keeled perspective on how you see the world and how you look at facts with an honest lens. You really do. I see some of the news coverage on the very entrenched right-wing media sources, and I'm like, what world are you guys living in? Harris Faulkner, we're going to war, folks. Strap it up.
And we need 100% buy-in from the American people.
Learn how to make sock soup. It's going to be tough out there for Americans, Do your patriotic part to declare war on Canada. Please.
Yeah, I'm very just sick of the propaganda outlets and the talking points that are clearly and explicitly hyper-partisan, and you can smell it from a mile away.
Yeah, they can do no wrong.
But as long as the American people keep rewarding that type of rhetoric in ratings and eyeballs and clicks and so on, it's never going to go away.
And votes. I mean, it sways the masses. Look at the elections. It sways the masses.
It can.
It can. It did not. I don't know if we have enough time to cover this. It did not in Wisconsin yesterday. Yesterday was, I know a lot of Democrats had to climb back over the bridge railing and not jump yesterday evening when the Democratic candidate for the Wisconsin Supreme Court,
Susan Crawford beat the Trump-backed MAGA candidate by almost 15 points. Muskin and affiliated groups had sank $21 million into the opposing candidate here in a critical battleground state. And this, according to the AP, that Trump's endorsement was made in sort of a proxy fight over national political issues. But here's what that election proved to me, Spike.
Sure.
For all the hand-wringing and sky is falling rhetoric about how dark money and too much money in politics is such a bad thing, I just don't see that the person or persons who spend the most win the most necessarily. Again, Elon pumped tens of millions of dollars into this and lost handily. I even go back to the 2016 election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton almost outspent Trump by 60-70% by some accounts, and Trump won that race. And so everybody who's so freaked out about money and politics and buying elections, I just see it more often than not that there's not an exact causation correlation there in every instance.
And I'm glad there isn't. You're absolutely right. But you've got faith in the American electorate, and sometimes I lose. Sometimes I lose mine because when I say Democrats were brought back from the cliff yesterday, because if Trump had bought this seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, by a record amount of money invested in a state Supreme Court race, it's at all-time records for out-of-state investment in these campaigns. Then the Democratic fear was that, okay, Elon Musk, that $25 million is nothing to him. He wrote checks
I
for
also
$1 million
think
apiece to the voters to register to sign a petition against judges.
we should also be hesitant to read too much into the results as being indicative of a broader trend or a way that
How do you
national
mean?
politics is shifting. It was just one race
but
in
it was
one
a-
state, right?
yeah.
Wisconsin is not Mississippi, is not Oregon, is not Rhode Island, right?
Yeah.
Might it tell us a little something to a degree, perhaps, but I would just caution, be careful in saying that this is like a broad thing that's happening all across the country. The Florida race was a little closer than expected, and I appreciated data guru guy at CNN, Harry Enton's take on this.
Okay. What do you got?
If you are a Republican candidate running in a swing state, you don't want Elon Musk anywhere near you. Yes, maybe you like the money, but you do not want his presence in your state. Why is that? Elon Musk, simply put, is an unpopular guy. He is political poison. Look in Wisconsin, his net favorable rating, minus 12 points, 12 points underwater. That is an even worse number when you look nationally. Look at that. It's minus 17 points. So if there's one big lesson to take away from Wisconsin is Elon Musk does not help Republicans when he shows up. If anything, the data suggests that he hurts them.
Well, and you're absolutely right. But what my fear now is that they just bury Elon but keep his money coming. Because
Kind
you're
of
right.
like George Soros.
Well,
Soros is not very visible,
It's
but
not
he's
very visible.
pumping money into a lot of these
well,
races.
there's far too. I think the root cause of all evil in politics is money, and I think Citizens United was the worst decision ever made by our Supreme Court, and that is saying something. The amount of money flooding into politics. There's no way a Wisconsin State Supreme Court race should get $100 million invested in it from various outside state groups.
But who spent the most? It didn't matter.
This time, because he kept putting his face, he went there and wore a cheese head. He is unpopular. If he'd have just sunk $25 million into the race and never shown his face or mentioned his name, that race may have gone differently. As that guy said from CNN, Elon's toxic. When we get back, a story that really matters: is Hooters a family restaurant?
News and views you can use.
It's the Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tallman filling in. We'll be right back. This hour is brought to you by Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens.
Hey, it's Charlie Harder. Seattle's morning news has been all about teamwork these past few months. Me bringing you the news, Sully navigating traffic, Katrina delivering your headlines. But we knew something was still missing. Starting Monday, we complete the team with a familiar voice to Seattle News listeners. She's someone Seattle listeners have trusted for decades. The big reveal happens Monday morning on Seattle's Morning News, right here on KIRO Newsradio.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh, did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said, but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Taxes was taxing. Now taxes is relaxing when you file for free.
I can file for free? TurboTax Free Edition. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. I can file for free.
Now this is taxes. File for free with TurboTax Free Edition and get your maximum refund. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, and student loan interest. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free.
The preseason AC sale is on now at Bob's Heating and Air Conditioning. This month only, keep your home cool and your wallet comfortable with 15% off. Plus, free financing on all air conditioners, heat pumps, and ductless systems. Trust the team voted best in the Pacific Northwest and call Bob's today for your free estimate. Hurry, the discount reduces to 10% off in May. Call Bob's Heating and Air Conditioning today.
Bob's Heating and Air Conditioning. Call Bob.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, Your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected. Your floor mats are cleaned and delivered. And your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Was drafted in 1999 by the Philadelphia 76ers, and that was just absolutely a dream come true.
Todd's playing in the NBA is unique. His battle with neuropathy is not.
I first started noticing problems a couple years into my NBA career, and I felt like my sock was just balled up right in the arch of my foot, and there'd be areas of burning and tingling, and then there'd be other areas of deadness where there would be no response to touch. We tried everything possible, from surgery to different drugs, to try and take care of some of the symptoms.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. Our neuropathy treatments can rehabilitate damaged nerves. We use FDA-cleared, non-surgical, non-drug, pain-free procedures that have helped thousands of neuropathy sufferers find relief.
Now I'm able to spend more time doing the things that I enjoy, being on my feet.
If you experience numbness, shooting, or burning pains, or loss of balance, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025, or click soundpainsolutions.com.
Good afternoon, I'm Aaron Granillo.
Your best source for local news.
Newly released police video shows the arrest of a 17-year-old.
KIRO News Radio.
A good retirement requires more than just having a retirement nest egg and a good investment strategy. Sadly, most people don't have that kind of a plan. And that's why retirement turns into a nightmare for most retirees. Nightmares of one falling ill and ending up in a nursing home, becoming a burden on loved ones, and losing money to uncovered care costs. All preventable with the right retirement plan. Hi, this is elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich and founder of LifePoint Law. Let me invite you to resolve to make 2025 the year you create a real plan for retirement. I've helped thousands of people in the Seattle area, and I know I can help you too. Come to one of my retirement planning seminars this month, and I will show you how.
Attend the free seminar in Federal Way on April 5th, Olympia on April 8th, or Bellevue on April 10th. Register at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454.
Start having fun. Caesar Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino Resort is your #1 place to eat, drink, watch, and have fun. Keep up with your favorite sports anywhere and everywhere on property with the mobile app. Visit muckleshootcasino.com today. Scan the QR code and let the play begin.
Muckleshoot.
Paid political announcement.
We live here in Washington. I travel all over the state for work.
Affordable short-term rentals help us stay together and make Hazel feel at home.
Now Olympia is considering a huge tax increase on short-term rentals,
pricing us and other families out, since more than half of short-term rentals here are used by Washingtonians.
Costs on everything are going up.
Please tell legislators not to make our trips more expensive too.
Paid for by Airbnb helps our state thrive. Host PAC.
Gray whales are back in the Salish Sea. Family-run Puget Sound Express offers guaranteed whale-watching tours departing from Edmonds. Don't miss Seattle's most popular and well-reviewed whale tours. Book online at PugetSoundExpress.com.
KIRO News Radio, continuing coverage.
CBS News Special Report.
We are finally putting America first.
President Trump has announced new tariffs that threaten to upend the global economy. He says they're long overdue.
For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike.
These are reciprocal tariffs, but the White House insists he's being lenient.
We will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us.
The baseline for these taxes will be 10% on imports from all countries, even higher on dozens of nations that run trade surpluses with the U.S. On Capitol Hill, Democrats expressed concern about the impact on this country. Senator Chuck Schumer.
It is estimated that the average American family will pay more than $5,000 out of their pocket to pay for these tariffs.
CBS News Special Report. I'm Cammie McCormick.
And I'm Jillian Raftery with KIRO News Radio. New this hour, First-degree murder charges have been filed against a man police say shot 2 people outside a Seattle hookah bar early Sunday. Leon Tiberi is accused of walking up to the first victim, seemingly at random, and shooting him in the head. As he ran away, police say a security guard chased after him and was also shot to death. Berry was initially charged with second-degree murder, but prosecutors say both shootings were caught on camera and were premeditated. The suspect is being held on $5 million bail. That same man had been celebrated by at least one local organization for turning his life around after a previous conviction. You can find that story and more on mynorthwest.com. Boeing President and CEO Kelly Ortberg spent this morning in Washington, D.C. testifying before the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. The hearing examines steps Boeing is taking to address production deficiencies and safety issues identified in the wake of the Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 incident last January when a door plug on a Boeing 737 MAX 9 blew out mid-flight. Here's aviation attorney and Boeing expert Mark Lindquist.
We want to hear not only that Boeing is admitting its mistakes, but that Boeing is going to take responsibility for those mistakes and fix those mistakes.
Washington State Senator Maria Cantwell is the ranking member on the committee. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, we've got heavy traffic building on I-5 northbound just south of the 405 interchange. A collision blocks 2 lanes there, and it's backed up to 220th. Seattle to Linwood is 25 minutes now. I-5 south has some light slowing getting into downtown, but the lake bridges are still clear. Volumes are also building on 167 southbound, slow from Federal Way to Renton, but not gridlock yet. This traffic report brought to you by Washington 811. If you are digging in your yard, the law requires you to call 811 to avoid dangerous and costly damage to utility lines. Call 811 or submit online at digsafewa.com. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. We are partly cloudy for the rest of the day, high of 53 degrees, which we haven't quite reached yet. Tomorrow, starting with some rain, considerable cloudiness, it says, with a high near 53 degrees and an overnight lows in the 40s by Saturday. By Saturday, we could get up to 69 degrees. We're still going to have some intermittent clouds, though. Right now, it's 51 degrees outside the KIRO radio studios. I'm Jillian Raftery for KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill along with Greg Tomlin. Jake Squirm's taking a day today. He'll be back with us tomorrow. Greg, I want to take you on a journey. Travel with me, if you will.
Can I ride shotgun?
Please do, my friend. We'll put the Foghat in the CD player. Oh, excuse me. We're going so far back, it's an 8-track.
Slow ride.
1986.
Take it easy.
1986, a 23-year-old Spike O'Neill, tired of his situation in Baltimore and brokenhearted by a girl who didn't deserve his love. Relocates, needs a change of scenery, moves to Florida, Central Florida to be exact.
Because that's what one does.
That's what one does. Just wanted a complete change of scenery. Wanted that girl out of my life and me out of hers. I moved to Central Florida. Took a job as a bartender in Central Florida, but didn't know anybody in town. Well, I lived in a little lakeside community in Central Florida, of which there are thousands. And just down the block from our little condominium that I've rented with another guy I worked with was a little restaurant that I'd never heard of before. Very rustic, kind of swampy kind of a motif going on. Inside, attractive, young, friendly women in orange short shorts and white tank tops. Hooters, it was called.
Ah, yes.
An owl motif, a playful owl motif on the wall.
Scantily clad women and chicken wings?
Chicken wings and crab legs. But I found a second home, knowing nobody in this market. I found a second home at Hooters, and I was there weekly. Okay, daily. As a young man,
I'm getting a more fuller picture of what makes Spike O'Neill Spike O'Neill in real time.
Okay, now we had a great time in Florida. Lasted about a year and a half in Florida. Now fast forward to the early 90s. I've moved to Seattle, Washington to begin my radio career. Got a young wife, right? Starting a family. What comes to Seattle? That same rustic, scenic restaurant with the funny owl on the wall and the short shorts. Hooters comes to Seattle, to South Lake Union, to Bellevue, to Tacoma. And it becomes this international brand of everybody loves Hooters. You come for the wings. You stay for the fun.
You come for the wings.
Yeah, that's what they tried to tell me.
Please.
Hooters had their own bowl game. Hooters had a.
Did they really?
Yes, they did. There was the Hooters Bowl. There was a casino in Las Vegas. Hooters had their own casino in Las Vegas. We're talking about the pinnacle of business success. Now fast forward to 2025.
Times have changed.
Hooters finds themselves $375 million in debt and declares bankruptcy.
Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
That's right. America has grown up, have shed their adolescent need for attractive waitresses and mediocre chicken wings.
It's funny you phrase it that way because I've always been of the opinion that the allure of Hooters reaches its peak at about ages 13 to 17 for young males.
Oh, you haven't been in?
No, I actually have never set foot in a Hooters before.
It's the 27 to 32-year-old where they make their real money, my friend. 17-year-olds ain't got the disposable income to put a Hooter girl through college.
No, but what I'm talking about, like when I was in junior high and high school, there was this mystique and mystery around Hooters. Like, what, you've been? Like, hey, David over here has been. What? You've been to Hooters? What goes on in there? Well, not much.
When they first came to Seattle, we had a morning show at the Rock Station. We were the big dogs in town. I got a Hooters VIP card from the owner of the local franchise on South Lake Union, which meant 50% off.
Hooters VIP.
A black Hooters VIP card. 50% off my entire bill, no matter what, no matter where. Every Hooters, coast to coast. They're franchisee and they're corporate owned. Part of the, by the way, Hooters filed for bankruptcy, but they have been saved. Their original owning group has retaken control of the it's not going away. Hooters will survive.
But they're going to be doing some rebranding.
Yes, they are. I've been looking for news on this story. Despite sagging sales, people cannot stop themselves from making the jokes about Hooters. Despite sagging sales, Hooters tends to get a lift from its original owners. AI actually referred to Hooters as a breastaurant.
Nice.
I mean, that's how did I never thought of that before?
Fantastic.
Yeah, we used to take here's the thing. We used to take our kids to Hooters. We took our daughters to Hooters.
Okay, you got to explain that.
Because it wasn't a peeler bar.
I'm sure the people that work there are fine people and wonderful people.
Wonderful young ladies, very friendly. They were they.
But how do you explain that to your kids? The outfits and
that the girls. I pointed to the cars the waitresses were driving.
Daddy, what does Hooters stand for? What does it mean?
It's how to buy a Mercedes without going to college. Is what I told my kids. The money these girls made at Hooters was phenomenal. Anyway.
Well, I was going to invite you to dinner this weekend because we've been doing a lot of fill-in together. And my wife the other day was like, just tell me a little bit about Spike. I need to know who we're going to invite over to our house. And now I can say, honey, the guy's got a Hooters VIP card.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you
Half
need to
off
know.
every bill. I was there twice a week. It was great. I take 10 friends. I get the check. It was great.
So they're trying to rebrand this place as being more family friendly. How do you think they do that? Do they start changing the outfits? Do they start making it strictly more about the food? And I will say this, mixing sex appeal with selling products and services is tale as old as time. It's not novel.
Go to Oktoberfest. They're not wearing turtlenecks at Oktoberfest,
Sex
right?
sells. We all agree, right?
Yes.
But my question to you on a personal level, Spike, is where do you draw the line? Because even commercials...
Right about here for you folks looking at home.
Nicely done. I walked right into that one.
My friend. Can it be Hooters if it's family friendly? That's the question. It's a great question.
But I've thought about this a lot because in commercials and advertising, there are good-looking people in commercials, right? Because it's a visual medium, and you want to be able to tolerate looking at someone, and maybe in fact go, oh, they're a good-looking person, good-looking product, I'm going to buy, okay? But where does it go too far? And I sort of think of this sex appeal umbrella, and under that you have things like bikini baristas, Hooters, strip clubs, and so on and so forth. And what's the principle to lay down for me in terms of like personal morality? Where do I draw the line? I think it's when you get into the like explicit objectification of a person in selling a product is where I go, I'm going to stay away from that. And maybe that line is not so clear. Maybe that's a gray area. Yeah. But for me on a personal level, that's sort of how I summarize it. And Hooters is very close to that line to me.
Sometimes well beyond it. A lot of people felt. And a lot of people feel like
I'm a live and let live guy. We live in the United States of America, live free. I get it. But just not for me personally. Well, what do you make of that principle?
I think you're spot on. The claim from the same old ownership, new ownership, the original owners, is that they're going to be more family friendly. Is that then they have to alter the uniforms. You can't be in orange short shorts and tight fitting tank tops with amply built women and call it a family friendly restaurant. When I say I took our kids there and we. I've never seen anybody untowards acting toward a customer beyond mild flirtation.
Would they get kicked out if that would happen?
Yeah, and I'm talking about I never saw waitress staff that were over gratuitous. So there was nothing untowards. Customers had the ultimate respect for the staff. And people who acted beyond the elements of respect with regard to a Hooters waitress, they were gone and not welcome back and told pretty clearly they weren't welcome back. And management and security all took place. It's like there were security guards like at a strip club. It's never that at Hooters. It was about the hula hoops and fun, fun stuff. You did all kind. My kids loved going to Hooters. The girls were so sweet to my kids. I was at a Hooter girl wedding. We became friends because since we were there twice a week with a VIP card, we became friends with one of the waitresses at the South Lake Union, Priscilla. I love her, to the mother, single mom. But when she got married, it didn't work out. This lovely Hooters waitress, her boyfriend ran a health club in Seattle. So imagine the wedding photo. This side is all Hooter girls. This side is all fitness exercise gurus. I mean, talk about, you could have sold this wedding photo to strangers. It was so attractive. These people were beautiful people. The Hooters says they're not going away, but they're going to rebrand as a family-friendly restaurant. I wish them luck. I love the wings. I love the crab legs. I love the fun. Go to a place to watch the game, have a beer with your friends, eat a bunch of wings. Waitress is nice, flirty a little bit, but you don't put your hands where they don't belong. Boom.
You sort of sound dangerously close to those people who would buy certain magazines and say, I buy it for the articles.
That's not at all what I'm saying. You're funny. I can honestly tell you I never read a single article in any adult magazine. Not one.
It's the honesty segment.
Thank you very much, my friend. Greg Tomlin filling in for Jake Squire today. When we come back, we'll have the best of your text message from today. You had a lot to say about today's show because we leaned in heavily to the president's coverage of our coverage of the president's tariff announcements, and you had quite a bit to say. We'll bring it all to you.
These texts are so good.
Great. Yeah. We'll be back with those right after these.
It's Charlie Harder. Starting Monday, someone very special is joining our team on Seattle's Morning News. She has been waking up Seattle listeners for decades. Who is it? You'll find out Monday morning. Seattle's Morning News on KIRO Newsradio.
Hey, Spike O'Neill for Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens. I've been telling you for a while now about how great my eyes work again. I noticed over time that my eyes had deteriorated. My vision started to go. I started wearing readers. So I went to see the folks at Sharp Vision at their Bellevue offices, went down and had a complete eye exam. They explained where I was at in my life, that I had the beginning of cataract. And I was a perfect candidate for a refractive lens exchange. I'm a little apprehensive at that point because it's your eyes, you don't want to mess with your eyeballs. The team explained how the procedure would work, what the benefits and recoveries would be. I went in, had the same care team from start to finish. It was a one afternoon procedure. I was home that night. I was at work the next day, a couple weeks of recovery, and I've got the best vision I've ever had in my life. They haven't just restored my vision. They've given me 20/10 vision. I always had great eyes, but now I've got superhuman eyes. I see brighter colors, sharper images, and I will never develop cataract, and I will never need glasses again in my life. If it's time for you to take a look at what the future of your vision should and could be, go to sharpvision.com, sharp with an e-vision.com, or give them a call at 425-451-2020. Sharp Vision, sharp-vision.com, official eye care providers of Sounders FC.
Is your roof ready for more spring showers? If your roof springs a leak, Valentine Roofing has you covered with our Leak Stop Guarantee. We'll stop a leak in your old roof for free until the new one is safely installed by our best-in-class craftsmen. But don't wait for a roofing emergency. Schedule your free estimate now before you have the headache of dealing with a leak. With our spring priority scheduling, we can get your roof replacement started within just 3 weeks. For all your roofing needs, call Valentine Roofing at 206 Roofing today to schedule your free estimate.
Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing, must-visit shops. And how healthcare offices become the data managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business. Powering possibilities.
Now through April 21st, new customers can get started with 150 megabit internet and Security Edge for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying internet package. Call today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Requires enrollment and paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account. Equipment, taxes, and other fees extra and subject to change. Early termination fee applies.
A good retirement requires more than just having a retirement nest egg and a good investment strategy. Sadly, most people don't have that kind of a plan. And that's why retirement turns into a nightmare for most retirees. Nightmares of one falling ill and ending up in a nursing home, becoming a burden on loved ones, and losing money to uncovered care costs. All preventable with the right retirement plan. Hi, this is elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich and founder of LifePoint Law. Let me invite you to resolve to make 2025 the year you create a real plan for retirement. I've helped thousands of people in the Seattle area, and I know I can help you too. Come to one of my retirement planning seminars this month, and I will show you how.
Attend the free seminar in Federal Way on April 5th, Olympia on April 8th, or Bellevue on April 10th. Register at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454.
When the heat's an 11,
cool AC would be heaven.
Dayandnight.net.
Beat the rush.
Act now before summer,
because that heat's a real bummer.
Dayandnight.net.
Even though our Northwest summers can be spectacular, there's always a long, hot stretch that makes everyone say, man, AC sure would be nice. Well, except for that one annoying friend who won't stop talking about how great his AC is. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. You can stay comfortably cool when those hot temps arrive. This is the time to plan ahead and call us about installing a high-efficiency AC or heat pump. Or if you have an existing system, we'll come and service it. Make sure it's running efficiently and ready to cool when you need it.
Before the summer heat wave.
Keep your house cool and save.
Dayandnight.net. Save up to $4,600 on qualifying cooling equipment, plus no payments or interest for a year OAC. Don't sweat it out this summer. Stay cool with Day and Night. Dayandnight.net.
From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Our local tax expert Greg Nunn wants taxpayers to know the IRS is now going after older cases very aggressively. If you received Form CP-504 from the IRS, do not ignore it. Be proactive and resolve your situation with Greg Nunn, N-U-N-N, None Better Tax Resolution.
I've always been an athletic guy, but after turning 40, I noticed I was slowing down. I booked a free testosterone check with Revive Health and learned that low T doesn't just impact my performance in the bedroom. I've been following a custom treatment plan ever since, and today I'm feeling stronger and more confident than ever.
If you're ready to book your free T-check, text BOOST to 65555 or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com to schedule your appointment. Message and data rates may apply. Message frequency varies. Text help for help. Text stop to cancel. See privacy policy at ReviveMen'sHealth.com/privacy policy. For info on how opt-in info will be used and terms and conditions at ReviveMen'sHealth.com/terms of use for terms of short code service.
All right, we're back for one final segment with you today. I'm Spike O'Neill, Greg Thomas sitting in for Jake Score, and we appreciate you guys sitting in with us this afternoon. Listen, if you played Liberation Day Bingo, none of us were able to pull the win. We all came within one various phrase from bingo. What was our listener that said he was one phrase away?
Yes, Josh in Auburn said, all I needed was for him to say Tesla and I would have had a bingo. If only he'd rambled on a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But Josh also says this was fun. I would definitely like to see more of this in the future with you guys.
Well, thank you very much. If you played along at home and you had our Liberation Day Bingo and you won, send us a copy, send us a photo to the text line 888-973-5476 of your winning bingo card. We'll verify it with a transcript of the president's speech. Rock, paper, scissors, who has to do that?
Exactly.
Yeah. And we'll award you a prize. I was not able to get the Trump portrait from the Colorado Capitol dumpster, the one that Trump hated. But we will have a prize for you.
The prize will be a Hooters VIP card from Spike O'Neill.
I'm never parting with that.
Signed, yeah.
Signed Hooters VIP. No, I'm never going to part of that. Let's get to your text messages today, folks. We appreciate you guys taking part in the show. Laura, why don't you kick it off?
On depressed Seattleites, Sasha says it's probably vitamin D deficiency. Found out my husband and I had dangerously low levels because the doctor suggested the test. LOL.
From the 425, if money was the answer, Justin Biebs would be the happiest man on the planet. Well, maybe he is.
We saw a video yesterday. I'll share with you. He is not the happiest man on the planet.
Oh, he's not well right now? Okay.
No, Mike in Edmonds says, I found happiness giving to other people, but if you can't even meet your own basic needs, you have little time to give to others. That's the concern. We were rated the 11th happiest city in America, and it takes $176,000 to be happy in Seattle. Laura?
Russell says money does not buy happiness. I'd rather have my health back from 10 to 20 years ago.
And Sharon says, I'm very content in my darling studio cottage in Richmond Beach on $47,000. Is that dollars per year?
$47K a year, yeah.
I'm a minimalist and a cancer survivor. Cliche, but health and time with family and friends is what money can't buy.
Well, I could never say it better than that. On Washington's payroll tax, 360 says, great to focus on the companies in Washington State and their tax woes. It's better to look at the regular Joes and Jills like myself and my wife who are facing triple increases in property taxes, increases in the gas tax, an increase in state recreational sites. We are not rich, and we cannot afford this, and that's where taxes hurt. You and me and everybody like us.
From the 206, companies are leaving, accompanied by 4 exclamation points. I'm a UPS driver out of Tukwila. Our center was the most profitable in our 6-state region. Now our center is probably closing this year. Why, you might ask? Companies in the Kent Valley have fled. Take a drive in the Kent Valley and count how many warehouses say for lease or available.
Not wrong.
On Camping World's giant flag, Kyle in Bellingham says compensating for something.
Nice.
For a wacky inflatable tube, guys, what they're compensating for. Cliff in Woodinville says that's only 80 by 40. That's not that big on top of a 150-foot pole. Well, we talked about Camping World. We're getting sued, or there was
there's legal action.
Legal action because it was twice the size of the Greenville's city ordinance about flag size. And of course, that's the kind of story we all love to chew on.
From the 425, Camping World would not be Camping World without a ginormous flag. It's a signature asset of the company. I, for one, love it.
There you go. The American flag needs to be seen. I love this. From Doug in Mount Vernon. Love you, Doug. This American flag needs to be large enough to be seen by the 51st and 52nd state, Canada and Greenland. Well done.
On Trump's Liberation Day and tariffs, Sue in Cedar River says, does he forget he was a previous president?
Boom. Solomon in Seattle says, did your egg prices go down 59%? Mine sure didn't.
Molly in the 425, don't hate me, but during the speech I went into 13 coins and had a glass of Prosecco and eggs. Benedict, perfection, feeling a lot better about life. Cheers.
So
smart.
Molly. On a Hooters bankruptcy and rebranding, Jim in the 360 says, so did Hooters go bust?
No.
That's one headline I didn't see in the national news search.
Why did you have to accompany with that with the sound effect? From Brooke in the 425, renamed Poopers? What does that mean?
Like if a BBL is more popular than a breast enhancement.
Okay. They don't all work, people.
Cletus in Federal Way says, when I was a sales rep for Anheuser-Busch, my sales manager used to hold sales meetings at the Lake Union Hooters, where his daughter worked. Family establishment.
I guess so in that case. And Rich in Burien says, I took my son and nephew to Hooters once when they were 6 and 7. We were stuck on East Lake on a Sunday evening. They were hungry, and it was the only place we could get hot dogs and hamburgers. My sister and wife were horrified.
Yeah.
The boys didn't even notice the girls. They love the food, though.
That's right. See, I'm telling you, people, they got a bad reputation. I hope they do well. And finally, on Liberation Day bingo, Dan and Shale said, in our office, we would play a drinking game during Inslee's COVID press conferences. We would each choose a word or phrase like, in that regard, drink. And just give us one more from Josh and Auburn. You have that?
I don't. I can make it up. Oh,
That's
bummer.
the one I read earlier.
You already got that one. Okay. Test the bingo. Thank you very much. Folks, that'll do it for us. We appreciate you being part of the show today. John Curley's up next. He'll have continuing coverage of not only the president's Liberation Day tariff announcements, but a lot of other things come up on the show, including on the John Curley Show, State Representative Jim Walsh and chairman of the Washington Republican Party talking about the future of the party. And it is indeed Elon Musk toxic for state Republicans and all Republicans. We had a great time today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
KIRO News Radio, your home for the John Curley Show. Weekdays from 3 to 7 p.m.
Here's where the coyotes work. I learned this from my neighbor. They come down, one comes and plays with the dog, starts to run, wants the other dogs to chase him, and that's where his friends are waiting. They eat him. So my dogs were out there, and they're playing along with the coyote.
Did your dog make it?
Yeah, I bought a Walther PPK, James Bond gun, fired shots at it. How James Bond hits anything, I have no idea.
Streaming live on your smart speaker.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
At Lowe's, pros save big on the supplies you need to get the job done. With the new My Lowe's Pro Rewards program, get member-only deals every week and access to free standard shipping. Plus, members earn points toward exclusive rewards. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. Program subject to terms and conditions. Free standard shipping not available in Alaska and Hawaii. Exclusions and more terms apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But this one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now, here's a good number. $100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. Oh, one last number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated, because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit VaxAssist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Are you looking at diversification and stability with your investment portfolio, especially with the volatility right now in the stock market? Hi, I'm Scott Rireka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We've been running local real estate investment funds for over 18 years. We've had 0 investor losses and have averaged double-digit returns since inception. Maybe it's time to take a little risk off the table given market conditions. For stability, there's no better option than Legacy Group's Northwest Fund, a fixed return of 9%. Legacy's Northwest Fund also accepts IRA accounts as well. Find out why over 1,000 local investors have invested over $250 million in our Legacy family of funds. Get in touch with us today. Legacy's Northwest Fund, returning 9%, has limited opening for new investors right now.
Call 425-635-4700 or visit LegacyG.com. That's LegacyG.com. This is not investment advice. Legacy investments available to accredited investors only. Details at LegacyG.com.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. President Trump has unveiled sweeping tariffs on imports. Linda Kenyon begins our coverage from the White House.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
In a crowded Rose Garden packed with auto workers, steel workers, and farmers, President Trump made it official.
The day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed.
The president says the tariffs include a 10% minimum baseline, along with higher tariffs on several other countries, including 34% on imports from China and 25% from South Korea. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
Colin Slade